Chapter 749. At this moment, there were only 3 people left in the formation dimension. Qin Wentian was bathed in the light of the armor, resembling a divine general, unexcelled in the world. His aura towered up into the sky as the halo of light illuminated the area. From afar, the other 2 experts could already sense his existence, and both of them moved towards Qin Wentian. Of these 2, one was Xia Yu, who had obtained a powerful augmentation, while the other was a 7th-level ascendant. Both of their speeds were extremely fast, and not too long later, the 3 of them sensed each other's auras as they moved towards a certain location. The final 3 of them were about to meet each other at the same time. The final battle is about to begin. The 3 of them sensed each other's auras and moved towards the same direction. The spectators outside the formation dimension mused silently as they stared at the scene inside. Among the 3 of them, who would be the final victor and obtain the Fiend God armor, the suspense was growing. Before this, they all felt that the possibility of Xia Yu winning was higher. But now, Qin Wentian, who had obtained the augmentation of the Fiend God armor, was like a rainbow, exuding an aura of invincibility. Not only that, he had also given many surprises along the way. Within the formation dimension, the halo of light radiating from Qin Wentian reached its peak. Constellations flashed in the air as resplendent astral light radiated from him. Xia Yu was the same as a 7th-level ascendant. Xia Yu's demonic qi towered up into the sky as a gigantic golden lion manifested in his constellation. It was a gigantic demonic beast that could devour the heavens and devour the earth. It galloped through the air, causing rumbling sounds to echo out from the heavens and earth. Kill! The 7th-level ascendant roared as a blood-colored gigantic axe cleaved down from the sky, aiming for Qin Wentian. Rumble! Qin Wentian lifted his palms and blasted out. Resplendent runic light shone as a terrifying suppression palm imprint engulfed the heavens and earth, directly colliding with the blood-colored gigantic axe, tearing it apart at the same time. Roar, roar! An incomparably huge and terrifying roar shook the heavens and earth. It was the roar of the Lion King, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. A golden claw of the Lion King pierced through the space, tearing towards Qin Wentian. It was as fast as lightning, and that attack seemed to be able to ignore the distance between them. An incomparably blazing brilliance erupted from Qin Wentian's body, and the talisman light that coiled around his body all flowed towards his palms. His palms blasted out with a force that could topple mountains and overturn the seas, and they seemed to emit a supreme divine might that was indestructible, and they blasted the Lion King's sharp claws to the point of directly exploding into pieces. So strong! Their attacks are all so ferocious. The spectators outside the dimension felt their hearts trembling. They were simply too powerful. Clearly, these 3 were all true elites, or they wouldn't be able to participate in the final battle for the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. As long as they could defeat the last 2, they would be able to obtain a complete Sky Demon Oracle Bone at a 10th of the price. To them, this was undoubtedly an extremely great harvest. After all, the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was an extremely rare treasure. Naturally, no matter what, the Amorsi's residents had already earned enough. They only needed to take out treasures to tempt others to participate in the gambling battles, and after that, they would be able to provide the method of battle. Although they would only gamble once every 7 days, the Amorsi's residents in the worry-free city had already earned an unimaginable amount of wealth, let alone the entire Cloud Prefecture. One must know that there were many major cities in the Cloud Prefecture, and the treasures the Amorsi's residents could bring out were even more valuable. If people wanted to participate in the gambling battles, they would have to pay an even greater price. But no matter what, since the Amorsi's residence was able to exist and prosper so much, it undoubtedly captured the hearts of many. Just like this time around, would Qin Wentian give up on this opportunity? And in the boundlessly vast Cloud Prefecture, there were countless people who had the same thoughts as Qin Wentian. The battle within the dimension completely erupted. After the 3 of them clashed a few times, Qin Wentian actually managed to forcefully defend against the attacks of Xia Yu and the 7th-level ascendant. His aura earlier was simply too overwhelming, to the extent that the two of them wanted to show off their might to Qin Wentian, directly blasting him away before the two of them could fight against each other. But even after several attacks, they still failed to blast Qin Wentian away. The attacks of the two of them grew more and more violent. Both of them were enraged as they blasted out even more power. Blood-colored dark clouds could be seen in the sky, with numerous blood-colored gigantic axes revolving around them. The 7th-level ascendant roared in rage as over 100 beams of light actually shot down from the sky, aiming for Qin Wentian. This attack was definitely capable of taking Qin Wentian's life away. Most probably, Qin Wentian wouldn't even have time to activate the formation talismans before he was cleaved into two. Roar! The Lion King howled in rage. Countless golden demonic lions appeared in the air, all of them rushing towards Qin Wentian. All of them opened their terrifying maws, revealing their malevolent fangs as they lunged towards Qin Wentian, wanting to devour him and tear him into pieces. This young man is going to be in for it. Although he is very strong, he is currently being ganged up on by two powerful experts. With such violent attacks, he would surely be eliminated. The spectators all felt fear in their hearts when they saw this scene. At this moment, Qin Wentian seemed to be in the midst of a raging storm of destruction, and could be torn into pieces at any moment. This attack was simply too violent, just looking at it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. At this moment, Qin Wentian released the halo of light from his armor to its limits, amplifying his strength to the maximum. His body transformed into a giant, resembling a true fiend god. Tens of thousands of silhouettes appeared at the same time, all of them were terrifying giants. They all howled in unison as they blasted out chaotic fist lights, suppressing the entire space. The power of the fiend god suppression art he comprehended was unleashed to its limits, the fusion of divine energy and true intents in his body frenziedly erupted forth as the tens of thousands of silhouettes attacked at the same time, truly capable of destroying the heavens and earth. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A frenzied flow of energy appeared in this space as the earth was torn apart. The mountains in the distance shattered as the rivers churned. If there were experts in the surroundings, they would definitely be killed by him. Boom! A thunderous sound thundered out. Although there were many silhouettes that were destroyed, there were still many more who soared through the air towards the 7th-level ascendant. Each of them radiated a boundless golden light as resplendent suppression runes circulated around them. Behind them, a terrifying golden silhouette could be faintly seen. Die! With a roar of rage, Qin Wentian lifted his palms to suppress the heavens and earth. His palms shattered the void as he blasted towards the 7th-level ascendant. That person howled in rage as he slashed out with a towering blood-colored axe light. Numerous blood-colored lines tore through the sky, yet they were all directly pierced through. His gaze stared at the unparalleled might gushing towards him as a look of terror appeared on his face. He took out a formation talisman and wanted to shatter it, but the speed of the attack was simply too fast, so fast that he didn't even have the slightest bit of time to do so. With a deafening boom, his body was directly shattered into pieces, dying within the formation dimension. The spectators in the outside world all had their mouths agape as they stared in disbelief at the scene before them. Their eyes were filled with shock, none of them could move as they stared at the scene before them. A terrifying existence at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon was actually killed so easily. Not only that, the performance of that young man earlier was truly unworthy of praise. When he saw people, he would avoid them, not daring to fight. He was as cowardly as a mouse and was extremely shameless. But it was precisely such a person who grew stronger and stronger as he fought. They all discovered that the reason why this young man didn't fight earlier was because he was waiting for an opportunity. For example, when he knew that Jiang Feng had the support of a formation, he intentionally walked towards Jiang Feng. At this moment, the spectators understood that Qin Wentian was doing this intentionally. He wanted to lure Jiang Feng out, and after that, he would replace Jiang Feng and obtain the formation. Borrowing the support of the formation, he eliminated Han Luo and blasted Zhao Yuyin away, displaying his brilliance. But when he saw that the experts within the formation dimension were all becoming more powerful, if he continued to stay there, he would be eliminated sooner or later. Everyone felt that it was impossible for him to contend against Xiaoyu. At this moment, he decisively gave up the support of the formation and went on his way alone, searching for a new source of strength. He found it. After obtaining the halo of the armor, he didn't waste a single second and directly declared war against all the experts in the formation dimension. He knew that his cultivation base was weak and at this moment, he had to seize every second he had to grow stronger. He mustn't allow the other experts to obtain the support of the formation, or the one who would be defeated would still be him. This person was truly too frightening. His decisiveness made many people blush with shame. A mere person at such a realm was actually able to achieve such a feat. This was simply a perfect battle. This was definitely a battle template. Could it be that he had participated in betting battles frequently in the past? Qin Wentian didn't know about the thoughts of the crowd. At this moment, he was still fighting Xiaoyu. The two of them frenziedly clashed against each other. Qin Wentian suppressed the heavens and earth while Xiaoyu's demonic qi towered up into the sky. The Lion King roared and Xiaoyu's gigantic body was enveloped by Xiaoyu. This won't do. Qin Wentian stared ahead. After that, his silhouette flickered as he directly rushed out like a bolt of lightning. Die! Xiaoyu icily spoke. The Golden Lion King roared as boundless killing intent blasted towards Qin Wentian. But at this moment, Qin Wentian, who had transformed into an immortal devil, had no fear at all. He rushed towards the Lion King as a pair of golden wings appeared in the air. His body arced through the air in a beautiful arc of light, directly rushing into the Lion King's open mouth. Xiaoyu's countenance changed when he saw Qin Wentian rushing over. His countenance grew extremely unsightly as he roared in rage, his eyes gleaming with a demonic light. Scram! Qin Wentian's silhouette transformed once more as he blasted out with his palms, not giving Xiaoyu any chance. Xiaoyu howled in madness as an incomparably gigantic Lion King imprint smashed towards Qin Wentian. However, it was directly suppressed and destroyed. Xiaoyu crushed the talisman as the turbulent airflow dissipated. The gigantic Lion King disappeared as well. Staring at the young man still standing inside, the hearts of the crowd couldn't help but tremble. Chapter 750. I truly didn't expect this. The spectators all drew in a deep breath when they saw Xiaoyu exiting the formation dimension, trying to calm the shock in their hearts. They had guessed that Xiaoyu, Zhao Yuyan, Han Luo, and the others would be the final victors, or those with higher cultivation bases. The only thing they didn't expect was for a new force to emerge. An inconspicuous existence that was even looked down upon by others at the start had actually become the final victor. Not only that, this victory wasn't a result of luck. He had defeated Jiang Feng, Han Luo, Zhao Yuyan, Xiaoyu, as well as 7th-level ascendants. One could say that all those who were guessing to be the final victor were all swept away by him alone. In fact, his cultivation base was the lowest among all of them. Although he borrowed the support of the formation, it could be said that luck played a part in his victory. However, there were many other types of augmentations in the formation dimension. Being able to walk all the way to the end wasn't something that could be summed up with just luck alone. This was especially so for the final battle. Qin Wentian's combat prowess was definitely at an extremely high level. Even if he didn't borrow the support of the formation dimension, it wouldn't be a problem for him to jump a level in combat. If not, Han Luo and Xiaoyu wouldn't have been defeated consecutively. Only to see at this moment, an expert from the Amorsi's residence walked out. He stretched his hand out and instantly, the formation diagram in the air transformed into a scroll that flew towards his palm. The formation dimension vanished as Qin Wentian and the others appeared in front of the great hall of the Amorsi's residence. This caused Qin Wentian to heave a sigh of relief in his heart. Seems like the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was already in his hands. He wasn't worried at all that the Amorsi's residence would encounter any mishaps. Being able to become a hegemonic power of the Cloud Prefecture, how could they not have this bit of credibility? They wouldn't even frown if they had better treasures. After all, they had obtained much more than the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. If the Amorsize residents made a mistake, it would be fatal. In the future, no one would dare to participate in the gambling battles of the Amorsize residents. What he needed to pay attention to were those who were eliminated by him. It wasn't a secret that he won the gambling battle, everyone had personally witnessed it, and the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was something they needed. It would be fine if he had a background in the worry-free city, but if he didn't, these people would definitely covet it. At this instant, he could clearly feel many gazes landing on him. The eyes of Xiaoyu, who was defeated earlier, were especially cold. He actually lost and didn't obtain the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. This time around, he came here for the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, but it wasn't for himself. As the descendant of the female city lord, as well as having an immortal foundation father, he could be said to be blessed by the heavens and didn't lack cultivation resources. Also, he wasn't proficient in weaponsmithing. Although the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was a valuable treasure, it wouldn't be of much use to him. The reason why he came here to fight for the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was because he wanted to prepare a greeting gift for the person who was about to arrive at the worry-free city. This person was none other than a powerful weaponsmith and had an extraordinary status. Even the son of the worry-free city lord had to treat him with respect. Such a person would definitely have no lack of cultivation resources, and he didn't have any good gifts to give him. And at this moment, the Amorsize residents sent out news that a Sky Demon Oracle Bone had appeared and they were going to use it as a gambling treasure. He immediately participated in the gambling battle, wanting to obtain the Sky Demon Oracle Bone no matter what. But in the end, he actually failed. Second level of Celestial Phenomenon, I actually lost to him. At this moment, without the reinforcement, everyone regained their original auras. The aura radiating from Qin Wentian was definitely one of the weaker ones in their eyes. But it was precisely him who defeated everyone, winning the gambling battle. Not only was this thought in Xiaoyu's heart, Zhao Yuyan and the others were thinking the same as well. At this moment, Zhao Yuyan's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian with reluctance in her heart. The Sky Demon Oracle Bone was an order given to her by her master. She had to obtain it no matter what. It was a form of tempering for her. Also, her master promised her that as long as she obtained the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, her master would teach her how to forge the toughest divine weapon, allowing her to personally observe the forging process. Although her master was an immortal-ranked weaponsmith, immortal-ranked divine weapons weren't ordinary items. It wasn't something you could forge just because you wanted to. Many materials were required, and even her master would rarely personally forge one, let alone having the opportunity to observe the forging process. This time around, such a rare opportunity actually slipped away right before her eyes. No way, I have to obtain the Sky Demon Oracle Bone no matter what. Zhao Yuyan's beautiful eyes flashed with sharpness. She mustn't miss out on such an opportunity. In addition, if she didn't manage to bring the Sky Demon Oracle Bone back, her master would surely be disappointed. At this moment, the person from the Amorsize residence who kept the diagram turned his gaze onto Qin Wentian and smiled. Congratulations on becoming the victor of this gambling battle. According to the agreement, the Amorsize residence will give you a complete set of the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. You can check it. After speaking, that person waved his hand as an interspatial ring landed on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian received it and sent his will into it. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he kept the interspatial ring and stared at the figure in the air. Many thanks to Senior. Since you are the victor of the gambling battle, the treasure naturally belongs to you. There's no need to thank me. That person glanced at Qin Wentian as he calmly spoke. As the victor of the gambling battle, you can stay in the Amorsize residence for a period of time and can leave whenever you want. Naturally, if you need the protection of the Amorsize residence, you can leave as well. You just have to pay some compensation. The words of this person were clearly telling Qin Wentian that there would be people who wanted to snatch the treasure. This was also something that the Amorsize residents would say after every gambling battle ended. For those who won the gambling battle and obtained the treasure, they would often seek protection from the Amorsize residents. After all, for the victor of the gambling battle to obtain the treasure, there would naturally be risks involved. Once you step down the stairs of the Amorsi's residence would no longer be responsible for your safety. The gazes of everyone landed onto Qin Wentian. This person seemed to be a stranger and they didn't know if he would seek protection from the Amorsi's residence. If that was the case, it would be impossible for those who had designs on the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. No need, I will leave on my own. Qin Wentian spoke. Okay. That expert nodded and didn't say anything more. He had already warned Qin Wentian, and as for how he would choose, it was up to him. There was no need for him to say anything more. Qin Wentian turned and prepared to leave this place. At this moment, a silhouette appeared in front of him. It was none other than Han Luo, who was defeated by Qin Wentian. Han Luo smiled. My name is Han Luo, I wonder how I should address you. Glancing at Han Luo, Qin Wentian replied, Qin Wentian. Sir, your talent is extraordinary and your combat prowess is extremely strong. I wonder which power you are from. Han Luo had a warm smile on his face, as though he wanted to make friends. If it was during normal times, Qin Wentian might have patiently conversed with Han Luo. However, the situation now was special. He just obtained the Sky Demon Oracle Bone and didn't know if Han Luo was sincere or not. Hence, he didn't wish to speak too much. At this moment, another person walked over. He stared at Qin Wentian. Can you sell the Sky Demon Oracle Bone to me? I will pay an equivalent price. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the person standing before him. This person was also someone he defeated, the Heaven Chosen of the Golden Armor sect, Zhao Yuyan. Evidently, she hadn't given up on the Sky Demon Oracle Bone and still wanted to obtain it from Qin Wentian. Sorry, the Sky Demon Oracle Bone is useful to me. Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke. A treasure like the Sky Demon Oracle Bone had always been priceless. At the very least, at his current level, he wouldn't be able to come in contact with it. Maybe he would be able to see it more often after he stepped into the Immortal Foundation realm, but that was in the future. Right now, he really needed the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. How could he give it to Zhao Yuyan? After speaking, Qin Wentian nodded to Han Luo and walked to the side. He had no plans to continue staying here. A demonic light flashed in Xiayu's eyes. After which, he turned and stared at Qin Wentian as he stepped out. Not only Xiayu, many others followed suit as well. The group of them directly walked down the stairs, exiting the Amorsi's residence. Qin Wentian walked at the very front. Behind him, there were many people who were watching the commotion, feeling puzzled in their hearts. This Qin Wentian was a little too unwise. Although his talent was very good and his combat prowess was extremely high, his cultivation base was still too low. How could he leave so brazenly after obtaining the Sky Demon Oracle Bone? Sir, this Sky Demon Oracle Bone might burn your hands. Why don't you hand it over to me? Only to see Zhao Yuyan following behind, walking shoulder to shoulder with Qin Wentian. Her tone was calm as she spoke, I won't mistreat you. I've already said that I won't exchange. Qin Wentian unhappily spoke. Zhao Yuyan furrowed her brows as a cold intent radiated from her. She then continued, I advise you to be more sensible. If you continue to be so stubborn, I'm afraid that not only will you not be able to hold on to the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, your life might even be in danger. Are you threatening me? Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, staring at Zhao Yuyan. Zhao Yuyan also turned her head, staring at Qin Wentian's cold eyes. Her eyes also flickered with arrogance as she spoke, so what if I am? The two of them were very close to each other, their auras clashing against each other as a wave of pressure gushed forth. Only to see Qin Wentian coldly spitting out a single word, scram. Whoever dares to continue following me, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Wentian increased his speed, directly leaving Zhao Yuyan behind, leaving behind a cold voice that caused the people behind to pause. Zhao Yuyan frowned when she heard this. Her eyes flashed with killing intent. Telling her to scram. Do you think you can be so impudent just because your combat prowess isn't bad? Zhao Yuyan's silhouette flickered as terrifying astral energy radiated from her. Although Qin Wentian's combat prowess wasn't bad, he was only at the second level of celestial phenomenon. Without the augmentation of the formation, what could he do? He actually dared to speak rudely. He was simply courting death. Qin Wentian's speed increased even further. A dazzling beam of light appeared beneath his feet as he sped forward with incredible speed. Back then, when he destroyed the royal sacred sect and killed many experts from the War Immortal Palace, all the spoils of war he obtained were kept by his original body. Among them, there were many treasures and he naturally didn't lack transportation. Zhao Yuyan had a cold smile on her face when she saw this scene. With a wave of her hands, a resplendent beam of light appeared beneath her feet, carrying her as she sped forward, chasing after Qin Wentian. The astral light radiating from her grew even more intense. Swishing sounds rang out as astral chains soared upwards, stirring up the wind and clouds. After which, they abruptly shot towards Qin Wentian. The tens of thousands of chains chased after Qin Wentian. Chapter 751. At the instant Zhao Yuyan acted, Qin Wentian instantly sensed it. His black eyes gleamed with a demonic light, filled with killing intent. You are courting death. Snorting coldly, Qin Wentian abruptly erupted forth with boundless sword light. In just an instant, millions of sharp swords whistled through the air, flying out in all directions. They didn't attack Zhao Yuyan but stopped in the air instead. A wave of destructive might gushed forth as a resplendent screen of sword light appeared in the air. The chains frenziedly blasted over, slamming into the screen of sword light. A crisp cracking sound rang out as the screen of sword light shattered. Zhao Yuyan released her constellation as she stood in the air, staring at Qin Wentian. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Who do you think you are? I'm willing to exchange for the Sky Demon Oracle Bone with equal value, yet you actually dared to reject. Zhao Yuyan's words were sharp, exuding a tyrannical aura. It was as though if she wanted to exchange the Sky Demon Oracle Bone with Qin Wentian had to agree. That dainty countenance was filled with cold arrogance, causing the demonic light in Qin Wentian's eyes to grow even more intense. Although Zhao Yuyan was beautiful, her heart was extremely vicious and tyrannical. If he didn't agree, she would directly act. Qin Wentian also truly experienced the law of the jungle in the immortal realms. Zhao Yuyan was a heaven chosen of the Golden Armor sect, how could she allow him to reject the exchange? Even a defeated opponent dares to act so arrogantly. You have no sense of shame despite only having a body. Qin Wentian mercilessly rebuked Zhao Yuyan. As the sound of his voice faded, Zhao Yuyan's countenance flickered with a cold light. Clattering sounds rang out unceasingly as the iron chains soared up into the sky, illuminating the entire space. The countless chains that bound the constellations gave off a feeling that they were trapped in a heavenly prison, unable to escape even if they had wings. I initially thought that although you were disrespectful, your crime wasn't worthy of death. I only wanted to seize your Sky Demon Oracle Bone and I would spare your life. Who would have thought that you would dare to humiliate me? Since this is the case, this place shall be the place where your bones will be buried. Zhao Yuyan radiated a cold killing intent, showing no mercy. As the sound of her voice faded, the boundless chains transformed into a heavenly prison, sealing this space. Her killing intent gushed forth, wanting to take Qin Wentian's life, killing Qin Wentian here. Qin Wentian's eyes were also filled with killing intent. This was the first time he felt such an intense killing intent after coming to the immortal realms. Before this, in the Qin clan, Qin Feng and Qin Qing were both pure-hearted and kind-hearted, forming a clear contrast with Zhao Yuyan. Most probably, it was because Zhao Yuyan was from a prestigious clan and had outstanding talent. Hence, she felt that she was a lofty existence. After she took the initiative to make a deal with Qin Wentian but was rejected, killing intent instantly appeared in her heart. Because in her eyes, Qin Wentian wasn't qualified to reject her. Walala, terrifying sounds rang out unceasingly. After the constellation transformed this space into a prison, the countless chains transformed into beams of white light that shot towards Qin Wentian. That terrifying speed was sufficient to penetrate through everything. It was too fast, so fast that the naked eye had no way to follow the speed of the chains. How laughable to the extreme, are you even qualified to be buried here? Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered, and at the same time, his voice rang out in the air, entering Zhao Yuyan's ears. After which, she felt a powerful suppression energy radiating forth, pressing down on her body, permeating every corner of this space. Qin Wentian released his constellation. This was the fourth constellation, a constellation that possessed supreme suppression energy. At this instant, Qin Wentian appeared in the center of the boundless chains, yet there wasn't a single chain that could break through his defense, locking him down. At this moment, he was like an immortal or devil, standing proudly in the air. His body was gigantic and radiated boundless light. Behind him, a gigantic golden statue appeared, and every beam of light radiated from it contained an extremely tyrannical suppression energy. Die! Zhao Yuyan furrowed her brows and roared. She stepped towards Qin Wentian as the chains frenziedly attacked. However, the halo of light around Qin Wentian grew even more dazzling. Boundless runic light circulated around his body as golden silhouettes descended from the skies, each of them resembling an immortal or devil. I'm not qualified. Qin Wentian stared at Zhao Yuyan. At this instant, he no longer kept a low profile. Instead, he revealed his brilliance, unexcelled in the world. From afar, the spectators had already rushed over. They stood there and stared at the battle between the two of them as their hearts trembled violently. What a powerful Qin Wentian! So it turned out that he didn't even need the support of a formation to have such combat prowess. Even Zhao Yuyan didn't have any advantage in front of him. At this point in the battle, Zhao Yuyan naturally could also sense how strong Qin Wentian's combat prowess was. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light as the baleful aura in the center of her brows grew even denser. She took out a resplendent white pearl and directly crushed it. A moment later, a powerful runic light enveloped her as the might she exuded grew even stronger. Even the chains became even more crystalline and terrifying. Countless chains trembled in the air as they frenziedly blasted towards Qin Wentian. Even if you borrow the power of external forces, do you think you can touch me? Qin Wentian roared. Runic light circulated around him as he grew even stronger. He was like a true immortal, a true devil, a god of war. In the air, numerous terrifying golden bodies cascaded downwards in all directions. At this instant, this entire space seemed to be suppressed, unable to move at all. Those chains froze once again, their speed actually slowed down. Zhao Yuyan's body also felt incomparably heavy. She inclined her head and stared at the constellation that was radiating boundless resplendent light as the terrifying golden bodies cascaded downwards, suppressing the heavens and earth, suppressing the ancient eras. I'm not qualified. Qin Wentian's figure flickered in the air. Those chains were suppressed, they couldn't even get close to Qin Wentian. How could they still attack? Zhao Yuyan would never have imagined that when facing a mere second-level ascendant, she would actually be so restrained. It was as though she was being suppressed by her opponent. What a pitiful woman. You don't know the immensity of the heavens and earth, thinking that you're unrivaled under the heavens. Qin Wentian emotionlessly stared at her. As more and more golden bodies descended from the skies, other than suppression, there was also a destructive energy that permeated this space. Zhao Yuyan felt that she couldn't resist anymore as her countenance turned pale. Qin Wentian's constellation would only grow stronger and stronger. This suppression constellation was simply too terrifying. How did he comprehend it exactly? Bzz. A bright light flashed again, Zhao Yuyan took out another treasure. But at the same instant, Qin Wentian snorted. With an intention of his will, boundless golden bodies descended from the skies, surrounding Zhao Yuyan. Her arms stiffened as the terrifying golden bodies seemed to be chanting a supreme might. Qin Wentian continued walking over. He was like the center of all suppression energy, like a true divinity that ruled over everything. Behind him, an incomparably gigantic shadow could be seen, suppressing the heavens and earth, suppressing the heavens and earth, as well as the heavens. Kill! Qin Wentian roared. At the instant the sound of his voice rang out, the spectators from afar all felt their hearts trembling. Kill, the heaven chosen of the Golden Armor sect, Zhao Yuyan. He would kill her just like that. If one angered him, he would show no mercy. Just like his performance in the world formation, the decisiveness of his heart was simply terrifying. He had no fear at all. Zhao Yuyan wanted to bury his bones here. What face was there to talk about? Why would he care if she was the heaven chosen of the Golden Armor sect or not? You dare! Zhao Yuyan roared. What would Qin Wentian not dare to do? The powerful suppression energy already blasted out, aiming for Zhao Yuyan. At this instant, Zhao Yuyan groaned in misery, her countenance paled as she coughed out fresh blood. However, that destructive energy continued pressing forth, aiming for her life. This brat is so decisive, he definitely isn't someone to be trifled with. The crowd trembled, they didn't expect him to be so strong. Those who initially wanted to seize the Sky Demon Oracle Bone were all shaken. This was especially so for those with weaker cultivation bases, they directly gave up on this thought. Die! Qin Wentian saw that Zhao Yuyan was still bitterly enduring. Stepping out, he resembled a divinity as he moved towards Zhao Yuyan. An even stronger might blasted out, and the golden silhouettes transformed into streams of light that shot towards Zhao Yuyan. But at this moment, a terrifying white light radiated from Zhao Yuyan, transforming into a screen of immortal light that enveloped Zhao Yuyan. This screen of light took on the form of an old man with golden eyes. His eyes were terrifyingly sharp as he stared at Qin Wentian. Master! Zhao Yuyan lowered her head as she called out. So it turned out that this shadow that appeared was formed from the immortal sense left behind by her master, the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect. Immortal Foundation experts could form their own immortal sense and had unfathomable abilities. Who dares to kill my disciple? The eyes of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect seemed to be able to pierce through everything as he stared at Qin Wentian. Although this was only a strand of immortal sense, before this strand of immortal sense, Qin Wentian could clearly feel the pressure of an immortal. This was a power on a different level and he instantly broke out in cold sweat. But even so, his eyes were as sharp as ever as he stared ahead. Your disciple is useless, yet she still wanted to kill me to seize my treasure. Tell me, should I kill her or not? Qin Wentian bluntly spoke, his words causing the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect to snort coldly again. Impudent, you actually dare to spout such arrogant words in front of me? Didn't your elders teach you how to conduct yourself? After speaking, an even stronger pressure gushed towards Qin Wentian, wanting to crush Qin Wentian. There were many types of Immortal Foundation experts. In the immortal realms, many immortals would leave behind their immortal sense for their descendants to protect themselves. An example was the strand of immortal sense Zhao Yuyan's master left behind on her. If an Immortal Foundation expert wanted to kill Zhao Yuyan, this strand of immortal sense naturally wouldn't be of any use. But with this strand of immortal sense, the other party would know who killed Zhao Yuyan. Hence, when killing a descendant of a major character in the immortal realms, one had to be extremely careful because the immortal sense left behind by an elder would definitely be left behind. This also caused the hierarchy in the immortal realms to be even stricter. For those with a powerful background, nobody would dare to antagonize them. Qin Wentian's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. He stared fixedly at the Supreme Elder. Even this strand of immortal sense was able to crush him. His cultivation base was simply too low. Just when Qin Wentian wanted to borrow the treasure and leave, a figure suddenly appeared from afar. This person was clad in white and exuded an extraordinary aura. The moment he appeared, Qin Wentian could sense it. He glanced at the other party as a smile flickered in his eyes. Senior Bai Wuya didn't lie to him and left a strand of immortal sense on him, saying that after he entered the immortal realms, Bai Wuya would immediately come to look for him. Chapter 752. Bai Wuya was clad in white as he floated over, appearing beside Qin Wentian. His aura was extremely ordinary, there were no fluctuations to it at all. The people in the surroundings could clearly sense his extraordinary demeanor, yet they couldn't tell how strong he was. This was an existence that could stand out like a crane in a flock of chickens, yet he seemed like an ordinary mortal. Bai Wuya calmly glanced at the immortal shadow, as though he could see through him with a single glance. "Sir, who are you?" The Grand Elder of the Golden Armor sect, who was also the master of Zhao Yuyan, stared at Bai Wuya with wariness in his eyes. This Bai Wuya gave him an extraordinary feeling. Scram. Bai Wuya spat out a single word, his words causing the gazes of the people in the surroundings to freeze. Scram. Although the aura of this person was extraordinary, could it be that he didn't know who this person was? This illusory figure was none other than an Immortal Foundation expert, the Grand Elder of the Golden Armor sect. Only his immortal sense remained here. This person who just appeared actually dared to tell the Grand Elder of the Golden Armor sect to scram? Even Zhao Yuyan's eyes flashed with coldness as she stared at Bai Wuya. Telling her master to scram. He simply didn't know what was good for him, not knowing the immensity of death. However, nobody knew that at the instant the sound of Bai Wuya's voice rang out, the immortal sense of the Grand Elder of the Golden Armor sect began to tremble violently, fluctuating unstably. Scram, scram, scram. This word reverberated through the air, reverberating through the air. In the Golden Armor sect a few thousand miles away from here, in a towering great hall, an old man exuding sharpness could be seen sitting there. His eyes were golden, but at this moment, his ruddy countenance suddenly turned pale. A terrifying fluctuation directly penetrated through his immortal sense and was transmitted to his original body. Boom! His mind trembled violently. After that, he closed his eyes. In his powerful immortal sense, a white-robed figure appeared. This white-robed figure casually stood there, his eyes seemed to be able to see through his soul. A terrifying aura circulated around him, causing him to feel a chill as even his soul was trembling. Not good. This expert was none other than the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect, the master of Zhao Yuyan. Right now, his true self was in the Golden Armor sect and his entire body was trembling. He couldn't get rid of that silhouette that appeared in his mind. It felt like the other party could see through his immortal sense with a single glance and see his existence. The Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect has never seen such a terrifying existence before. If the other party wanted to kill him, it would be as simple as squashing an ant. Zhao Yuyan. The Great Elder of the Golden Armor sect was furious. What kind of person did this girl offend to attract such a powerful expert? When he thought of this, the Grand Elder of the Golden Armor sect felt a chill run down his spine. His true self stood there in a daze, but the figure in his mind did not leave. Right now, he was just a pitiful weakling, waiting to be judged. Under such circumstances, how could the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect not be enraged? He even vented his anger on Zhao Yuyan. Although Zhao Yuyan was his disciple, so what of it? A disciple was a disciple after all. For the sake of his own life, he wouldn't even blink an eye if thousands of disciples were sacrificed. But right now, Zhao Yuyan had implicated him, causing him to be in an extremely dangerous situation. How could he not be enraged? Seeing that it wasn't easy for you to cultivate, I will spare you from death. Scram! A voice rang out in his mind. After which, the white-robed silhouette vanished from his mind. The countenance of the Supreme Elder was still pale. Only now did he heave a sigh of relief. He discovered that his entire body was drenched in sweat. He was an Immortal Foundation expert, yet he was so frightened that his legs felt like jelly. What sort of expert is this person exactly? The Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect silently mused. After stepping into the Immortal Foundation realm, each step was as difficult as ascending the heavens. Even for him, he was only at the first level of Immortal Foundation. He had no way to imagine how strong that white-robed young man was exactly. And at this moment, at the location where Qin Wentian was at, the immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect had already shattered. Zhao Yuyan, who saw this scene, froze as her countenance turned pale. She stared at the white-robed young man and Qin Wentian before her. Her master's immortal sense was actually shattered. The white-robed young man didn't even do anything and the immortal sense had already vanished. What was going on exactly? And just when Zhao Yuyan was feeling trepidation, Bai Wuya didn't even glance at her. His gaze was fixed on Qin Wentian. Should we leave now or? Let's go. Qin Wentian emotionlessly glanced at Zhao Yuyan as he replied. The two of them didn't interact too much. Okay. Bai Wuya waved his hands. A moment later, both him and Qin Wentian vanished from their original location, leaving behind only Zhao Yuyan who stood there dumbly. Earlier, when her master's immortal sense vanished, Qin Wentian should have been able to kill her. However, Qin Wentian merely glanced at her emotionlessly. He didn't say anything, and didn't even use words to humiliate her. But from Qin Wentian's eyes, she could see an intense disdain and disdain. It was as though she, a heaven chosen of the Golden Armor sect, was nothing in his eyes. She was worthless. If he wanted to kill her, he would kill her. If he didn't, he would spare her. He couldn't be bothered to take her life. Such disdain, such disregard, was undoubtedly the cruelest form of humiliation. Whether he killed Zhao Yuyan or not, that young man didn't care at all. What happened earlier? Many people in the surroundings still had no idea what was going on. Why did the immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect vanish? After that white-robed young man appeared, he shouted the word, "Scram," and didn't attack. His immortal sense simply vanished without a trace. They had no way to ascertain what happened exactly. Han Luo, Xia Yu, and the others frowned. They didn't understand as well. Let alone them, even Zhao Yuyan didn't understand what happened. But no matter what, the Sky Demon Oracle Bone had already been taken away by Qin Wentian. That white-robed young man might be very powerful. Maybe, he's also an Immortal Foundation existence. Han Luo silently mused. Earlier, the speed at which he left, that extraordinary aura, as well as that calm attitude, made Han Luo feel that the white-robed young man was a powerful Immortal Foundation existence. If not, he wouldn't dare to berate the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect. The immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect was protecting Zhao Yuyan. It was impossible for the white-robed young man to not know that it was an immortal sense. Since he knew, he still dared to say, "Scram." This undoubtedly proved that he was an existence on the same level as the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect. In fact, he might even be stronger, at the second level or third level of Immortal Foundation. He didn't dare to think higher. After all, this place was only the worry-free city, a small city in the boundlessly vast Cloud Prefecture. Being able to establish a first-level Immortal Foundation was already an extremely impressive feat. Those who were too strong only existed in the legends. As for Immortal King existences, they could be considered lofty existences in the entire Cloud Prefecture. Even within the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures, they were considered supreme experts and had a seat of honor in the immortal realms. No matter where they went, they would be treated as esteemed guests. As for the truth of this matter, these people had no way to know. But after this matter, Zhao Yuyan returned to the Golden Armor sect. She was grounded for 3 months by the sect leader of the Golden Armor sect, and from then on, her status in the Golden Armor sect plummeted. The Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect didn't give her any pointers, let alone personally forging an immortal ranked weapon in front of her. Naturally, this was a matter for the future. Bai Wuya brought Qin Wentian and directly departed. Not too long after, they arrived at a location high up in the air. This place was shrouded by clouds and mist, with no signs of human activity. Bai Wuya swept out with his immortal sense, and only after confirming that there was no one around did he stop. "Senior brother, is the Heavenly Talisman realm located in the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures?" Qin Wentian asked. Bai Wuya shook his head. Qin Wentian curiously asked, "Where is it located in the immortal realms then?" "The Heavenly Talisman realm is everywhere." Bai Wuya calmly spoke, his words contained a hint of arrogance. Qin Wentian had no way to understand these words. The Heavenly Talisman realm was everywhere? You don't believe me? Bai Wuya stared at Qin Wentian as he smiled. "I just don't understand senior brother's meaning." Qin Wentian replied. "You will understand when you see it." Bai Wuya smiled and didn't say anything. After that, a series of sounds rang out from his mouth. These sounds were like a chant, drifting unceasingly up into the air, converging into a formless energy that radiated forth in the air, radiating a strange energy. The energy from the incantation art Bai Wuya spat out unceasingly gathered in the air, interweaving together to form a marvelous diagram. After which, a shocking scene appeared. In front of Qin Wentian's eyes, a different dimension actually appeared. This dimension seemed to be independent of the other dimensions, forming a world of its own. There were actually some scenes appearing within, as though this was the corner of a unique world. This. Qin Wentian's gaze froze. The incantations Bai Wuya chanted seemed to have opened a door that led to a world of its own. Let's go. The voice stopped. Bai Wuya stopped his incantations. With a wave of his hand, he brought Qin Wentian with him as they walked towards that unique scene, directly entering it. After which, the two of them vanished from this dimension. After that, the images vanished as the incantations vanished. The dimension gradually closed up as the clouds and mist shrouded the area. Everything returned to normal. However, at this moment, the shock in Qin Wentian's heart had yet to subside. Just like what he had imagined, what he saw earlier was indeed a corner of a world of its own. This world was none other than the Heavenly Talisman Realm. The Heavenly Talisman Realm was a world of its own. Just like what Bai Wuya had said, the Heavenly Talisman Realm was everywhere. No matter where he was, he would be able to connect to the Heavenly Talisman Realm through incantations and enter it. Within the Heavenly Talisman Realm, Qin Wentian was currently standing on a green-colored mountain peak. He stared at the world in front of him as intense waves rose in his heart. The Dongxing Heaven Emperor was the ruler of the 13 prefectures. However, even he wouldn't be able to control a world of his own, right? If he entered the tutelage of the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord, the Realm Lord would definitely be in existence even stronger compared to the Dongxing Heaven Emperor. Chapter 753. So this place is the Heavenly Talisman Realm? To think that we can directly enter from the immortal realms. How mystical. Qin Wentian sighed. He was truly shocked. Such a method was simply unfathomable. Yes, it's the Heavenly Talisman Realm. If not, do you think that the first requirement for the Heavenly Talisman Realm is to have a violet gold astral soul? Bai Wuya smiled. In addition, the Heavenly Talisman Realm also requires a disciple of an immortal king to receive them. For those below the immortal king realm, they don't have the qualifications to receive disciples into the Heavenly Talisman Realm. Coincidentally, the day the Eastern Sage accepted disciples, I was passing by and happened to meet you. Also, the Heavenly Talisman Realm has another extremely harsh condition. Once you join the Heavenly Talisman Realm, you are not allowed to join any other powers in the immortal realms. If you aren't truly powerful, how would you dare to be so confident? Bai Wuya's voice contained a hint of pride. Qin Wentian nodded. Senior brother, in the future when I enter the Heavenly Talisman Realm, will I be able to use the oracular chant to activate the Heavenly Talisman Realm? Yes, but there's one thing. You are not allowed to bring any outsiders into the Heavenly Talisman Realm. Also, when you enter the Heavenly Talisman Realm, you have to be in a situation where there's no one in the surroundings. If you are really seen by others, you are not allowed to mention the existence of the Heavenly Talisman Realm. The Heavenly Talisman Realm is extremely secretive and has a supervisory immortal general. If you casually enter the Heavenly Talisman Realm or mention this to others, the moment you are discovered, the supervisory immortal general would expel you from the Heavenly Talisman Realm and wipe your memories. In fact, he might even kill you. Bai Wuya solemnly instructed. I understand. Qin Wentian nodded. This was the uniqueness of the Heavenly Talisman Realm. It was mysterious and unfathomable. As to why it was so, Qin Wentian didn't know. Let's go, follow me to pay your respects to the Realm Lord. Although Master's true body isn't here, he would be able to sense your entrance ceremony. He will officially accept you as a disciple, and from now onwards, whenever you meet other disciples of the same sect in the immortal realms, you would be able to sense their existence and know that they are from the same sect. Bai Wuya brought Qin Wentian along as they continued forward. The Heavenly Talisman realm was extremely vast, with green mountains and clear waters. The environment here was extremely good, resembling an oasis. The sky was blue and extremely clean, without a speck of dust. White clouds were floating in the sky, and the air was very fresh, which made Qin Wentian's eyes light up. It feels like the whole world is brighter and filled with the aura of life. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath as an expression of intoxication appeared on his face. In the lake below, fishes could be seen swimming about. The water was transparent, and the reflection of the green trees on the side of the lake was extremely beautiful. The Heavenly Talisman realm is truly a paradise on earth. Naturally, not only the Heavenly Talisman realm, the residences of many immortal emperors are all extremely beautiful. Naturally, everyone has their own preferences. For some immortal emperors, their immortal palaces would naturally be majestic and majestic. For some immortal emperors, their immortal palaces would naturally suit their preferences. Bai Wuya spoke. Master should like to live a leisurely and comfortable life. When you see the Heavenly Talisman Palace, you will understand. I'm filled with anticipation. Qin Wentian smiled. The two of them moved very quickly. In the Heavenly Talisman realm, Qin Wentian saw many buildings and palaces. These were all residences of other people. These are the residences of your senior apprentice brothers and sisters. How is the environment? Bai Wuya smiled. They all know how to enjoy themselves. Qin Wentian glanced at a building in front of a waterfall not far away. The environment was too beautiful. Right above the waterfall, the mist lingered around, resembling an immortal realm. You can construct a palace that belongs to you in the Heavenly Talisman realm. In the future, you can come here to cultivate. Bai Wuya spoke. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. The Heavenly Talisman realm was a world of its own. In the future, if he met with powerful enemies in the immortal realms, the Heavenly Talisman realm could even become a place of refuge. Naturally, he didn't voice out his thoughts. If not, his senior apprentice brother Bai Wuya would definitely look down on him. Bai Wuya, is this the junior apprentice brother you brought here? At this moment, a voice drifted over. The owner of the voice couldn't be seen. Qin Wentian only saw a silhouette flickering as a halo of light flashed. In front of him, an old man with an unfathomable cultivation base appeared. He was currently smiling at Qin Wentian. Yes, Qin Wentian. I brought him here and am bringing him to join my sect. Bai Wuya nodded. Not bad. The old man nodded. After that, he turned to Qin Wentian, work hard. As a fellow disciple of the Heavenly Talisman realm, in the future if you meet with any problems, feel free to look for me. As the sound of his voice faded, the old man directly vanished, coming and going without a trace. Qin Wentian didn't even see how the old man left. This senior apprentice brother is truly amicable. Qin Wentian smiled. Bai Wuya smiled in his heart. Although they were fellow disciples of the Heavenly Talisman realm, the Heavenly Talisman realm was different from the other powers. It had its own unique characteristics. It was already very good for such an expert to appear and greet you. After all, the old man might be a character on the same level as Bai Wuya. If such a character was placed in the immortal realms, it was unknown how many times higher his status was compared to Qin Wentian. The disparity was too great. Qin Wentian wouldn't even have the chance to meet him, let alone come out and greet him, telling him that he could look for him if he needed anything. Indeed. Bai Wuya noncommittally smiled. The two of them continued on their way, and on their way there, they met another two people. One of them nodded his head to them, while the other person merely cast a glance at them before continuing on his way, not stopping for even a moment. Not long after, the 9 Dragons waterfall appeared in front of Qin Wentian. The 9 dragons spiraled in the air, soaring up into the clouds, lifting up a terrifying 10,000-meter tall statue. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see the top even if they inclined their heads. These 9 dragons were like true dragons, imposing and tyrannical, vivid and lifelike, as though they had a life of their own. This statue stood on the heads of the dragons and stared ahead. Just a single glance was sufficient to cause people to feel a deep sense of awe. Is this the realm lord of the heavenly talisman realm? Qin Wentian's heart trembled. This statue was over 10,000 meters tall, and a single palm of his was incomparably gigantic. Above his right hand, there was actually an incomparably gigantic palace. This gigantic palace, when viewed as a whole, seemed extremely tiny and inconsequential. Qin Wentian, this is my master, the realm lord of the heavenly talisman realm. Just kneel and kowtow 3 times and greet me as your disciple. Master will naturally be able to sense your existence. Go on. Bai Wuya transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. He himself retreated far away and quietly stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian gradually recovered from his shock. He stared at the statue and walked up. He knelt on the praying mat before the statue and kowtowed 3 times. Disciple Qin Wentian pays my respects to Master, the realm lord of the heavenly talisman realm. Qin Wentian slowly spoke, his voice solemn. From now onwards, he would be considered a disciple of the realm lord of the heavenly talisman realm. Qin Wentian's voice drifted forward, and there was actually a faint response. A beam of light appeared on the 9 dragons, extending to the gigantic statue. In an instant, the incomparably gigantic statue started to move, its eyes gleaming with spirit as it stared at Qin Wentian below. Since you joined the heavenly talisman realm, you have to abide by the rules of the heavenly talisman realm. Are you willing? A voice drifted down from the heavens. Qin Wentian respectfully replied, since disciple came to take me as a master, I'm naturally willing. Good. Qin Wentian, from now onwards, you are a disciple of the realm lord of the heavenly talisman realm. You can enter the heavenly talisman palace and browse through the heavenly talisman treasured tome. The voice drifted down once more, directly addressing Qin Wentian by name. This caused Qin Wentian to sigh in his heart. Seems like this statue could truly manifest a spirit. When he knelt to pay his respects to his master, the other party instantly knew that he was here. As the sound of the voice faded, a beam of light directly shot into Qin Wentian, enveloping Qin Wentian. In just an instant, Qin Wentian's entire body shimmered with light as some information appeared in his sea of consciousness. Qin Wentian closed his eyes and sensed for a moment. After that, he bowed to the statue again, disciple thanks master. Micham, get up. This time, it's the ceremony of taking me as your master. In the future, there's no need for you to kneel when you see me. The heavenly talisman realm lord spoke. After that, the halo of light around him gradually dissipated as the gigantic statue suddenly calmed down. Qin Wentian slowly stood up and bowed to the heavenly talisman realm lord again. This was the first time he truly felt that kind of unparalleled might. Although there wasn't any pressure on him, that sense of might originated from the depths of his soul. Qin Wentian has also seen Dongsheng Heaven Emperor before. However, the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor still exuded an imposing aura, he didn't feel the same as the Realm Lord. Master has already left. Bai Wuya walked up and spoke to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian inclined his head, staring at the gigantic palace in the hands of the Realm Lord. Enter the Heavenly Talisman Palace and browse through the Heavenly Talisman Treasure Tome. These were the words the Realm Lord spoke to him earlier. Go ahead, I will wait for you outside. Bai Wuya spoke to Qin Wentian. Many thanks, senior brother. This time around, Qin Wentian bowed slightly to Bai Wuya, feeling gratitude in his heart. Originally, he and Bai Wuya were strangers, but they only met once. Despite being an immortal king, Bai Wuya didn't have any arrogance at all, leading him into the heavenly talisman realm and treating him like this. Back then at the banquet, Bai Wuya was cold and aloof in front of the other immortal kings. This should be what made him unique. Facing immortal kings, he could be so calm and collected, but facing a junior like him, he could be so amicable. Such a temperament was already incomparable to ordinary people. Qin Wentian naturally felt extremely grateful in his heart. Since I led you into the sect, I naturally hope that you will have some accomplishments. There's no need for thanks. Bai Wuya patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder. Qin Wentian smiled and didn't say anything more. After that, his silhouette flickered as he flew towards the Heavenly Talisman Palace in the air. As though sensing Qin Wentian's arrival, the resplendent gates of the palace actually opened automatically. After that, Qin Wentian walked in. Chapter 754. The towering statue had a gigantic palm that was hundreds of meters in size, supporting a majestic palace. Qin Wentian stepped into it and directly vanished from sight. The Heavenly Talisman Palace, the palace controlled by the Realm Lord. In the Great Hall, Qin Wentian stood there as golden light illuminated the skies, cascading down on him unceasingly. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the air. Over there, the entire Great Hall was like a painting, filled with resplendent runic light. Heavenly Talisman Palace. Qin Wentian stared at the three words in the air. Beams of light directly entered Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness. Qin Wentian immediately closed his eyes and simply stood there, as though he had entered a meditative state. This is the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome. It isn't the same as the other cultivation arts. There are only some introductory words and the rest have to be comprehended by oneself. As for how much one can comprehend, it all depends on one's own comprehension ability. After some time, Qin Wentian opened his eyes again. He slowly stepped into the Heavenly Talisman Palace as he immersed himself in the mysteriousness of the painting. This flowing painting seemed to be the same as the one Di Tian comprehended in the Vermilion Bird Immortal Palace. However, it was even more mysterious and profound. Runes, the source of the laws of heaven and earth, the source of energy. A voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. In that instant earlier, a huge amount of information flowed into his mind. These were all the insights the Realm Lord had regarding runes, as well as the introductory words of the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome. In the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, runes were the source of energy. As for why stellar martial cultivators could cultivate, it was naturally because of astral energy. Astral energy was the source of all cultivators. However, if one only had astral energy, they would be able to strengthen their physique and physique. But how would they attack? Innate techniques, cultivation arts, all sorts of techniques, what were the origins of all these? It was because there was a mysterious energy that could unleash astral energy, transforming it into tyrannical attacks. Very few people would try to find out what this mysterious energy was because there was no way to do so. Nobody could explain it. They could only say that this was a type of law, an inherent law of the heavens and earth. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome had clearly explained this rule. He felt that this rule needed to be triggered. Once the power of the stars came into contact with the runes, it would be able to draw upon the laws of the universe and give birth to power. According to the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, astral energy and inscriptions were the foundation of all energy. They were the source of all energy. They triggered the inherent laws of the heavens and earth, and from there, power was born, capable of moving mountains and draining seas, capable of destroying the heavens and earth. The more powerful the astral energy and divine inscriptions, the more terrifying the law energy would be. Hence, there were different levels of cultivation, as well as different grades of divine inscriptions. What a powerful comprehension! Qin Wentian was truly stunned. Although he had already faintly sensed this point long ago, he had no way to explain it. He had never met anyone who tried to analyze it until this time around, when he came to the Heavenly Talisman Palace. Qin Wentian believed in the Realm Lord's insights. This wasn't because the Realm Lord was powerful. True trust could only come from the approval of the Realm Lord in one's heart. Why were divine weapons called divine weapons? Because divine weapons contained the power of divine inscriptions. The grade of a divine weapon was determined by the divine inscriptions. In that case, if a divine weapon was placed there with no one to control it, would there be any use? There was no use at all. Someone had to infuse astral energy into it, activating the divine inscriptions and triggering the might of the divine weapon. In other words, Only when astral energy and divine inscriptions met would they be able to trigger the inherent laws of the universe, giving birth to a powerful attack. Where did the power of innate techniques originate from? If innate techniques were broken down, they would still be inseparable from divine inscriptions. When an innate technique was unleashed, the first step was naturally astral energy. The might unleashed wasn't solely dependent on astral energy. If not, why would the same innate technique unleash different might when used by people at the same cultivation level? Because the comprehension was different, the usage would be different. In the past, Qin Wentian had also considered this question many times. Because of the existence of the spiritual refinement method, he had long started to think about it. He borrowed the power of the spiritual refinement method to condense divine energy in his body. As long as he unleashed his divine energy, it would be able to unleash its power. Why? Because divine energy itself was formed from the fusion of divine inscriptions and astral energy. Once it was unleashed from his body, it would instantly trigger the laws of the universe, resulting in the eruption of might. Now that he thought about it, Qin Wentian could feel how profound the spiritual refinement method was. This was something his father left behind for him. Other than the spiritual refinement method, there was also the fiend god body refinement art. This was also a body refinement art left behind by his father, and it had the same effect as the spiritual refinement method. In the introduction of the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, there was also a detailed explanation of innate techniques. He believed that everyone had the ability to create laws, it was just that this type of ability was different. Because innate techniques were created by stellar martial cultivators, they had to use their own comprehensions and unceasingly experiment, using their own methods to activate the power of laws, creating innate techniques. However, humans were also stupid. The vast majority of people's creation of innate techniques would only be limited to improving and strengthening the innate techniques of their predecessors. Very few people would be able to completely create their own laws. When he thought of this, Qin Wentian couldn't help but perspire. In the past, he had never considered this question in detail. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed the case. Although he was already at the celestial phenomenon realm and could modify some weaker innate techniques to make them stronger, that was all based on the foundation of his predecessors. Right now, could he create a brand new innate technique? Even if it was an extremely weak innate technique. He discovered that it was extremely difficult for him to do so. According to the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, regardless of weaponsmithing or martial cultivation, they were originally one, inseparable. Their essence was to trigger the laws of the universe. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome was precisely to probe into this type of law energy. At the same time, one would be able to comprehend and use it, allowing one to see through the essence of any type of energy and become even more powerful. At this moment, Qin Wentian suddenly thought of something. In the past, he was able to comprehend innate techniques with ease, and his cultivation speed was faster compared to others. Not only that, the might he could unleash was also extremely powerful. Was the spiritual refinement method part of this? Because of the existence of the spiritual refinement method, unknowingly, he was already probing into the essence of energy. It's really broad and profound. Qin Wentian silently mused. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome allowed you to comprehend the essence of energy, allowing you to comprehend it. The more you comprehend, the more profound your understanding of energy would be. Such an experience was extremely precious to stellar martial cultivators. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome also described other types of law energy in the universe. For example, true intent. But most importantly, it was still at the level of inscriptions. In the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, there were different names for the divine inscriptions of the world. Divine inscriptions should be the pinnacle of inscriptions. Low-level inscriptions couldn't even be called divine inscriptions, they could only be called runic inscriptions. Sixth-level runic inscriptions could be called immortal inscriptions, and could be used to forge immortal-ranked divine weapons. After a long period of contemplation, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the flowing space in the painting once more. It was as though he had gained a brand new level of comprehension, and he could sense how vast and boundless it was. In fact, he could even sense some extremely powerful energy from it. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome was a treasure tome that gathered many types of energy together. The prerequisite was that you had to be able to comprehend it. Once you could comprehend it, it would become a power that belonged to you. Very swiftly, Qin Wentian was completely immersed in it, unable to extricate himself. For the first time, he felt as though he had found the source of all the insights he gained in the past. This feeling was too wondrous, he felt as though he was enlightened, as though he had found a brand new door. This realm lord who was able to establish a world was simply too amazing. Qin Wentian already had a deep sense of reverence in his heart towards this master of his that he had never met before. Outside the Heavenly Talisman Palace, Bai Wuya quietly stood on the ground. He casually stood there, as though he was one with the heavens and earth. Just like that, he stood there for 3 months. For an entire 3 months, Qin Wentian still hadn't exited the Heavenly Talisman Palace. Only to see at this moment, a silhouette flickered over, instantly arriving here. That person walked to the entrance of the Heavenly Talisman Palace and discovered that the entrance was still closed. A strange expression flashed in his eyes as he lowered his head and stared at Bai Wuya. Bai Wuya, has this junior apprentice brother not exited yet? Bai Wuya nodded lightly, he didn't reply. Do you think he's forcing himself to play around inside? That person joked. Back then when you came here for the first time, I remember you stayed in there for 2 months before exiting. This junior apprentice brother who's only at the 2nd level of celestial phenomenon actually managed to comprehend it for 3 months. Everyone's aptitude is different. Back then, 2 months was already my limit. I had no way to comprehend anything else. Now that junior apprentice brother Qin hasn't exited for 3 months, we should be happy for him. Bai Wuya calmly replied. Ha, you can put it that way. I'm just afraid that he clearly has no way to comprehend anything yet he still chose to stay inside. That person laughed. During these 100 years, I've been reading the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome and comprehended a supremely powerful immortal art. I can already sense that it's about to be completed. But now, you actually brought a little fellow here to occupy the Heavenly Talisman Palace. No wonder you would frequently come to the Heavenly Talisman Palace during these years. So it turns out that you've already comprehended something. Bai Wuya inclined his head and stared at the person in the air. This person was a middle-aged man with fair skin and a majestic appearance. He had been reading the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome for 100 years and comprehended a single immortal art from it. If this was known to Qin Wentian, he would definitely be extremely shocked. Because, with his current strength, although he had comprehended several powerful innate techniques from the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome for 3 months, he couldn't see any traces of an immortal art at all. Naturally, this was because his cultivation base wasn't high enough. In the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome, the stronger one's comprehension was, the deeper one's comprehension would be. Chapter 755. As to why Qin Wentian didn't exit the treasure tome, it wasn't because he wanted to dig too deeply into the innate techniques within. Rather, it was because he wanted to spend more time and effort on comprehending the runes that could trigger the laws of heaven and earth, trying to comprehend them from the very foundation. Every rune, no matter how low-leveled it was, would be able to trigger law energy to launch an attack. There were also many manifestations of runes, hidden within sword light, within palm imprints, and even within a single gaze. Ever since Qin Wentian started cultivating until now, he had cultivated many innate techniques but he had never tried to comprehend them from the very foundation. Right now, just by looking at the treasured tome, Qin Wentian could already see the process of law energy being activated by each innate ability. For example, right now, Qin Wentian was sitting cross-legged. His perception was focused on the mysterious picture scroll, it was as though there was only something inside. This picture scroll was all-encompassing, as vast as the abyss, unfathomably deep, containing countless transformations. At this moment, he was paying attention to one of the transformations. That was the might of a giant elephant. Boundless runic light flashed, transforming into a terrifying leg art. This leg art resembled a demonic elephant trampling the heavens, its thick hooves could suppress the heavens and earth, exuding boundless might. The transformation process of this innate technique was constantly changing under Qin Wentian's perception, imprinting it into his mind. A resplendent light radiated from Qin Wentian. After which, he soared up into the air, as though he was within the picture scroll of the heavenly talisman treasure tome. He casually stomped downwards, causing rumbling sounds to echo out as the heavens and earth trembled. An incomparably gigantic elephant hoof stomped downwards. If someone was below Qin Wentian, they would definitely be trampled to death. Amazing, cultivating like this, powerful innate techniques are at his fingertips. Qin Wentian silently mused. He closed his eyes again and floated up in the air, immersing himself in this world of the treasure tome. Time slowly flowed by, Bai Wuya was still quietly waiting outside the heavenly talisman palace. The other expert felt even more depressed. This time around, he had a sudden impulse and wanted to enter the heavenly talisman palace. However, the rules of the heavenly talisman palace dictated that only one person could enter at a time. Now that Qin Wentian occupied the heavenly talisman palace, he could only wait outside. Within the worry-free city, it had already been over 100 days since Qin Wentian participated in the Amorsi's residence's wagered battle. During this period of time, the wagered battle had never stopped. It was held once every 7 days. However, if one were to talk about the commotion caused by the wagered battle, it did not surpass the one Qin Wentian participated in. News of the gambling battle back then had already circulated out. Back then, the Amorsi's residents used the Sky Demon Oracle Bone as the wager, allowing experts to participate in the gambling battle. Xiaoyu, Han Luo, Zhao Yuyan and the rest of the most dazzling geniuses of the worry-free city all participated in this gambling battle. However, none of them obtained the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. In the end, the Sky Demon Oracle Bone didn't land in the hands of an expert proficient in divine inscriptions. Instead, it was snatched away by a handsome young man at the second level of celestial phenomenon. This young man had a mysterious background and no one knew his name. His cultivation base could be considered one of the weakest among the participants. After obtaining the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, he initially wanted to leave but Zhao Yuyan refused, wanting to forcefully snatch it away. The two of them clashed and after a grand battle, the 4th-level ascendant Zhao Yuyan was actually defeated. As the disciple of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect, a genius of the sect, she was actually defeated by someone 2 levels higher than her. This caused a huge commotion, especially when the immortal sense of her master, the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect, appeared. However, a white-robed silhouette also appeared beside the mysterious young man. As the sound of the word "scram" faded, the immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect vanished. After that, the two of them left, not even bothering to kill Zhao Yuyan. After that, Xiaoyu and Han Luo also tried to search for that mysterious young man but to no avail. In the Qin clan of the worry-free city, Qin Feng and Qin Qing were both searching for Qin Wentian. Ever since Qin Wentian left the Qin clan, he had never appeared again. Both of them were extremely anxious in their hearts. At this moment in the Qin clan, Qin Feng's uncle and Qin Feng had a huge conflict. After Qin Feng chased his uncle away, his expression was extremely unsightly to behold. He then spoke to Qin Qing, "Qin Qing, let's go and tell Grandpa, he is getting more and more overboard. It's useless, he didn't do anything to us. If we tell Grandpa, Grandpa would at most be angry for a while." Qin Qing shook her head, her face was red from anger. Just earlier, Qin Feng's uncle ran over to tell them that there would be a supreme character coming to the worry-free city. The city lord Manor was currently preparing to welcome him and was gathering beauties from the worry-free city. Qin Qing wanted her to go and register for the event as she might have a chance to be selected. As long as she could become one of the serving girls, she would be able to come into contact with characters of that level. If she was chosen by any character, she would definitely soar to glory. Qin Feng and Qin Qing were so angered that they almost went crazy. What did this bastard treat Qin Qing as? It was as though he wanted nothing more than to chase Qin Qing out of the Qin clan. In fact, he was treating Qin Qing as a job. Damn it! Qin Feng spat hatefully. Forget it. Qin Qing shook her head. Is there any news of Big Brother Qin? Why hasn't he returned after such a long time? Did something really happen to him? That won't happen. Big Brother Qin's strength should be okay. Nothing will happen to him. Qin Feng shook his head. Let's hope so. Qin Qing furrowed her brows. Actually, she knew that Qin Feng was also very worried. After being acquainted for a period of time, they had already treated Qin Wentian as a close friend. Also, after interacting with him for a period of time, they knew that given Qin Wentian's personality, if he really wanted to leave, he would definitely inform them. But this time, he disappeared without saying a word. They were truly worried that something bad might have happened. After all, in the immortal realms, death was a very common thing. If one offended someone they shouldn't have, they might meet a calamity of death. At this moment, in the City Lord Manor of the Worry-Free City, the atmosphere was as imposing and tyrannical as a royal palace. Even the hegemonic powers of the particle worlds in the lower realms wouldn't have such majestic buildings. In a great hall, the female city lord and her husband were both present. The female city lord was a beautiful middle-aged woman clad in fox fur robes. Her figure was exquisite and her beautiful eyes were resplendent, exuding a sense of charm. The name of the female city lord was Bu Yanyu. Beside her, there was an extremely muscular man with thick brows and large eyes. His hair was golden and his physique was filled with explosive power. This man was none other than a hegemonic character of a particle world. His original self was a demonic beast that has stepped into the immortal foundation realm, becoming a demon immortal. His name was Xieshur. In the great hall, there were many people present, including the son of the city lord, Xiaoyu. There's still 7 days before they arrive. Have the preparations been made? Bu Yanyu asked the people below. Reporting to City Lord, the preparations are already underway. A person replied. Emicham, this is a rare opportunity. You have to grasp it well. Xiaoyu, if you can form a good relationship with them, you would have a chance to soar up into the heavens in the future. Hence, you have to prepare well. Bu Yanyu spoke to her son Xiaoyu. Emicham, the preparations are already underway. It's just that the Sky Demon Oracle Bone was stolen by an unknown character back then. How hateful. A cold light flashed in Xiaoyu's eyes. Back then, he prepared the Sky Demon Oracle Bone precisely for the sake of those people who were about to arrive. He had long since received the news and had been preparing for it. It was just that he had failed back then. Let's not talk about things of the past. You won't be able to find that person anyway. What's important is what will happen next. Are all the beauties being selected? The golden-haired Xieshur's voice was loud and clear. The moment he spoke, the entire great hall was filled with echoes. Emicham, I'm currently preparing, but I don't know if it will be effective or not. Xiaoyu calmly replied. How many men in the world don't love beauties? Strength comes first, beauty second. I told you to prepare more because I want to cater to the tastes of those people. There will always be a suitable one. Young and beautiful ones, seductive ones. Prepare them all and mobilize the entire worry-free city. No matter what methods we use, we have to gather enough beauties for me. Xieshur spoke in a loud voice. Right. Xiaoyu nodded. His gaze turned to a middle-aged man sitting in the great hall as he spoke. Hurry up and make the preparations. We won't force those immortal ranked powers, we can just invite them to be our guests. I believe they will be willing. As for those ordinary characters, just bring them to the City Lord Manor after you have selected them. Tell them that the City Lord Manor won't mistreat them. Yes, I will do that right away. That person nodded and left the great hall, giving out orders. The people of the City Lord Manor of the Worry-Free City also started to move. Very swiftly, the entire Worry-Free City received a piece of news. In the near future, a major character from the Cloud Prefecture would come to the Worry-Free City. It said that this person came from a sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture and had an extremely high status. The city lord manor of the worry-free city started to invite experts from all over to accompany him. At the same time, they also gathered all the beauties of the worry-free city to be his attendants, causing many beautiful women with no background to be stirred. To them, wasn't this a rare opportunity? The entire worry-free city became lively. Within the Golden Armor sect, on a beautiful green mountain, Xiao Yuyan had already ended her seclusion. She quietly stood there, staring into the distance. A sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture. Xiao Yuyan mumbled. Her gaze turned to a towering immortal palace behind her as a cold light flashed in her eyes. Master, you will regret this. After speaking, Xiao Yuyan walked out of the Golden Armor sect. She wanted to go to the City Lord Manor and become a female attendant. She was willing to do so. She wasn't willing to accept what she had experienced these past few days. Chapter 756. The Cloud Prefecture had a total of 81 counties and countless cities. Outside the cities, there were countless major powers. However, the number of major powers that could truly stand at the peak of the Cloud Prefecture weren't many. But for the Jiang clan of the Cloud Prefecture, it could definitely be said to be one of the major powers at the peak of the Cloud Prefecture, unexcelled in the world. The Jiang clan could be traced back to an extremely ancient era. There was a grandmaster weaponsmith named Jiang Chao who had heaven-defying weaponsmithing abilities. Even immortal emperors would often ask him for help, wanting him to help them forge supreme immortal weapons. However, the Jiang clan that Jiang Chao founded was too domineering. Hence, they were extremely arrogant and had no one in their eyes. Hence, they offended many people, and Jiang Chao even had a mortal enemy with an extremely powerful cultivation base. The two of them fought a heaven-shaking battle and his opponent killed Jiang Chao head-on. However, he didn't expect that Jiang Chao's weaponsmithing abilities had already reached the heavens. Jiang Chao even forged his own body into an immortal weapon, and before his death, he retaliated with a final strike, causing both of them to perish together. After Jiang Chao died, many enemies he had offended all came knocking on his door. Naturally, many of them coveted the immortal weapons and treasures of the Jiang clan he founded. At that time, Jiang Chao's name already shook the immortal realms and he was extremely wealthy. Naturally, there were many people who had designs on the Jiang clan. Hence, a bloody war erupted and the Jiang clan encountered an unprecedented calamity. Jiang Chao was indeed Jiang Chao. He forged the defenses of the Jiang clan into an impenetrable fortress that was extremely hard to break through. After that war, it was unknown how many experts of the Jiang clan died, but the Jiang clan also suffered many casualties as they plundered many immortal weapons. After that, as the era changed, the Jiang clan encountered a few more calamities as they struggled their way to where they are today. Although the Jiang clan no longer had the splendor Jiang Chao had in the past, they had experienced countless storms. But even so, when the Dongxing Heaven Emperor ruled the 13 prefectures, the Jiang clan was still able to stand stably in the Cloud Prefecture, becoming a sacred ground. It was unknown how many people admired them and wanted to enter. Not only because they wanted to cultivate the martial path, they also didn't want to learn how to weaponsmith. That was the Holy Land founded by Jiang Chao, a place of pilgrimage for master craftsmen in the Cloud State. Currently, many of the rumors in Worry-Free City were related to the Jiang clan. In an extremely short period of time, the stories of the Jiang clan were repeated in the inns. Of course, as long as one was slightly older, they would basically have heard of the Jiang clan and Jiang Chao. After all, the Jiang clan's reputation was too great. Experts of the Jiang clan were about to descend upon Worry-Free City. How could this not cause a commotion? Outside the entrance of the City Lord Manor, Xiao Yuyan quietly stood there, her eyes flashing with determination. After which, she lifted her feet and sped towards the direction of the City Lord Manor. This time around, she wouldn't turn back unless she bumped into the southern wall. As the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect, her master had given her the cold shoulder, imprisoning her. In that case, she would grab hold of her future once again. Even if she had to pay any price, she wouldn't hesitate. However, not everyone had the same thoughts as Xiao Yuyan. Right now, the entire Qin clan was in an uproar. In the courtyard of Qin Qing's residence, there were many people there. The sounds of commotion could be heard. It seemed that there was a dispute going on. Qin Qing, even if you don't want to go, you still have to go. I've already reported your name. The city lord will come here today to bring you over. This is a chance for my Qin clan. An indifferent voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than Qin Qing's uncle. Qin Shao, you bastard! Qin Feng roared in rage, the veins on his body bulged. He had never expected that this uncle of his would actually do such a despicable thing this time around. Grandpa, you have to seek justice for elder sister. Qin Feng stared at his grandpa Qin Mu as he spoke. What a vile spawn, to think that you don't know the difference between seniors and juniors, even daring to insult me. I will cripple you. Qin Shao stepped out heavily as his aura gushed forth, pressing down on Qin Feng. Stop! An explosive roar rang out. Qin Mu also had an expression of rage on his face. He stared at Qin Shao, who asked you to do this. Do you still have me, the clan leader of the Qin clan, in your eyes? Uncle, I do want to respect you. However, the things you've done during these years have truly caused this nephew's heart to turn cold. Qin Shao stared at Qin Mu as he spoke. Back then when Qin Feng's parents were still alive, you shielded them in every possible way, giving them all the good cultivation resources. After that, they unfortunately died, and you still doted on Qin Feng and his sister in every possible way, allowing them to enjoy the cultivation resources first. Are you really thinking for the sake of the entire clan? Since when is it your turn to speak in this clan? Qin Mu angrily rebuked. Boss, it's not a big deal for the juniors to express their views. In addition, Qin Zhao's words aren't without reason. At this moment, an old man at the side spoke. Qin Mu turned his gaze over, staring at his cousins as he swept his gaze over them one by one. What do you all mean by this? Qin Mu suppressed his anger as he stared at the people in front of him. The eyes of these people were filled with dissatisfaction towards him, the clan leader. Seems like this wasn't a temporary matter. I don't mean anything, I just feel that Qin Zhao's words are right. Everything he does is for the sake of our Qin clan. This is a rare opportunity and the other clans are all fighting to grab it. Qin Qing is so beautiful and pure, she might even catch the eye of a major character from the Jiang clan. At that time, our Qin clan would soar up into the heavens with a single leap, possessing a heaven-blessed advantage. In fact, we might even become one of the most influential clans in the worry-free city. With such an opportunity right in front of you, Qin Mu, are you going to give it up just like that? That person slowly spoke, his tone cold. Qin Mu stared at him, just like what you said, the entire worry-free city is fighting to be the first. Do you think it's so easy to catch the eye of a major character? In addition, so what even if she caught the eye of a major character? Would those lofty characters dote on a female? To those major characters from the Holy Lands, even if they fancied a female, they would only do so for fun. They wouldn't spend too much effort on a female. By doing this, it was undoubtedly pushing Qin Qing into a pit of fire. No matter what, we still have to try. That person continued. Qin Mu stared at him as an indistinct pressure radiated from him. Am I the clan lord, or are you the clan lord? Qin Mu, if you don't care about the benefits of your clan, I have nothing more to say. The people from the city lord manor have already arrived. Right now, things can no longer be salvaged. Even if Qin Qing doesn't want to go, she has no choice but to go. That person's voice was as calm as ever. And at the same time he spoke, the sound of wind whistling could be heard from afar. An instant later, several figures appeared. The person in the lead stood in the air as he spoke. Where is Qin Qing? Here. The old man from the Qin clan who spoke to Qin Mu called out. After that, those figures walked over and their gazes landed on Qin Qing. This female's looks were truly outstanding and she looked extremely pure. She wasn't bad at all. Come with us, the man said indifferently. No. Qin Feng blocked Qin Qing's path. She can't follow you guys. Michem. That expert frowned as a cold light flickered in his eyes. Qin Feng, how dare you? The old man from the Qin clan berated. Scram. Senior, my elder sister has never registered herself. These people acted on their own. I beg for Senior's forgiveness, please don't bring my elder sister along. Qin Feng spoke. Scram. That person had a cold expression as he stared down at Qin Feng. Senior. Qin Feng's eyes turned red as his countenance turned pale. However, he only saw the other party waving his hands, bring her away. Senior, please spare my elder sister. With a putong sound, Qin Feng knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the expert from the city lord manor. Senior, please forgive me. Scram. That person had a look of anger on his face. No. Qin Feng refused to budge. Qin Mu also walked over and spoke to the expert from the city lord manor. My granddaughter didn't do this willingly, please forgive her this once. How impudent. That person coldly spoke. Capture him. After speaking, he stepped out as well. With a heavy wave of his hand, a muffled boom rang out as astral light flashed. A terrifying saber light directly slashed down with the speed of lightning. Qin Mu's countenance paled, he similarly released his aura. He lifted his hand and retracted his attack as an astral shield appeared, shining with a diamond-like light. However, under the might of the saber light, the astral shield was broken apart as his body was directly forced back. Humph, that expert coldly snorted as he continued walking towards Qin Mu. His palms grabbed out in the air as tens of thousands of saber lights erupted forth, converging into a terrifying gigantic saber in front of Qin Mu. As the saber slashed out, the sound of the wind whistling could be heard as the entire space was cleaved into two. Qin Mu's countenance turned pale. Astral light radiated from his body as it transformed into an incomparably large shield. When the gigantic saber slashed down, the entire space trembled. After which, the saber directly disintegrated, transforming into fragments that pierced into Qin Mu's body. Piercing sounds rang out unceasingly. Qin Mu groaned in misery as his countenance turned pale. Fresh blood seeped out from all over his body as he retreated unceasingly. That expert didn't continue attacking, he merely coldly glanced at Qin Mu. As for the other side, Qin Feng was directly flung out. The experts from the city lord manor were holding Qin Qing captive. The two of them had no strength to resist at all. Grandpa, Qin Feng. Qin Qing saw that both of them were injured as tears flowed down her face. Release my sister. Qin Feng rushed over in rage, yet he only saw one of the experts lashing out with a kick. With a thunderous boom, Qin Feng's body was directly flung through the air. Don't bother about me, I'll go. Qin Qing roared, despair could be seen in her eyes. Qin Mu endured his injuries and stood up, yet a few elders from the Qin clan directly surrounded him. The old man who argued with him earlier spoke, Clan Lord is muddle-headed, bring him away. You guys, how dare you? Qin Mu stared at the people before him. He only saw the experts from the city lord manor coldly glancing at him before turning and bringing Qin Qing away. In the air, Qin Qing turned her head, glancing at Qin Mu and Qin Feng. An intense pain could be seen in her eyes, it was all her fault for harming her grandpa and Qin Feng. Chapter 757. In the Qin clan, after Qin Qing was brought away, the clan lord, Qin Mu, was injured and was captured by the Qin clan. Qin Mu naturally realized this. Right now, these people were all extremely depressed. Seems like they had long been unhappy with him and now, they finally decided to use an outsider to deal with him. As for all of this, Qin Wentian who was in the heavenly talisman realm had no idea. He had comprehended the heavenly devil art for a long time and had even refined the sky demon oracle bone in the heavenly talisman palace, tempering his body to cultivate the fiend god body refinement art, causing his body to grow even stronger. His entire body was like that of a fiend god, and when he circulated his cultivation art, resplendent runic light would circulate around him, as though he was clad in fiend god armor. After his cultivation, Qin Wendian finally walked out of the Heavenly Talisman Palace. That expert outside was still waiting there. When he saw Qin Wendian walking out, he stared at him with a depressed expression. "Little brat, you are finally willing to come out." Qin Wendian's eyes flashed as he stared at the person before him. After which, he politely replied, "Qin Wendian pays his respects to senior brother." That person nodded. He directly appeared beside Qin Wendian and slapped out with his palm, landing on Qin Wendian's shoulder. A powerful surge of energy directly permeated into Qin Wendian's body, causing the bones in Qin Wendian's body to emit cracking sounds as though a terrifying energy was circulating through him. "Not bad." That expert calmly spoke. After that, he stepped into the Heavenly Talisman Palace. Earlier, Qin Wendian, who was still feeling the pressure, instantly felt a sense of relaxation, as though the bones in his body were all cleared up. "Awesome!" Qin Wendian praised. As expected of the Heavenly Talisman realm. Seems like this junior brother of his should be the weakest in this realm. There were simply too many people stronger than him, any one of them was on the same level as Bai Wuya. This was simply too powerful. They might have originated from all over the immortal realms. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor only controlled the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures. The immortal realms were simply too vast, and there were simply too many experts here. Do you want to know more about other places? Bai Wuya looked at Qin Wendian and said, "Of course, you are still weak. Even if you step into other places, it will be useless. For example, some missions and rewards are impossible for you to complete." "How difficult?" Qin Wendian asked curiously. "There are all sorts of difficulties. I've seen some missions that are more difficult, such as establishing an immortal empire and becoming an immortal emperor." Bai Wuya spoke. Qin Wendian's heart trembled. He looked at Bai Wuya and said, "Senior brother Bai, even a senior brother completed such a mission?" "Yes." Bai Wuya nodded. Qin Wendian's body couldn't help but sway slightly. Someone had actually completed it. There was a senior brother from the Heavenly Talisman realm who became an immortal emperor of an empire? This was too terrifying. The power of the Heavenly Talisman realm was so strong that it was shocking to hear. Such a power actually concealed itself so strictly. Once it was revealed to the outside world, how terrifying would that be? In that case, I will go out first. I've already stayed here for quite some time. Qin Wendian smiled. Sure. I will send you out first. Use an incantation to communicate with the Heavenly Talisman realm and a spatial passageway will appear. You will return to where you came from. Bai Wuya explained to Qin Wendian. After that, he brought Qin Wendian back to where they came from. When they returned to the place where they entered the Heavenly Talisman realm, spatial fluctuations could be felt. Bai Wuya chanted and a moment later, a bright light flashed as the spatial passageway appeared once more. The situation outside could be seen clearly, like a mirror. There's no one here. You can leave now. In the future, you can enter by yourself, but you must remember not to lure others in to hide from your enemies. That would be a violation of the rules of the Heavenly Talisman realm. The supervisory immortal generals would immediately find you and punish you. Only death awaits you. Only if you were discovered by others unintentionally would the supervisory immortal generals be lenient. Bai Wuya solemnly reminded. Qin Wendian nodded. If this was allowed, the Heavenly Talisman realm would have long been exposed. Hence, this rule was very strict. Right, I will remember it. Many thanks Senior Brother Bai. Qin Wendian clasped his hands to Bai Wuya. Since I'm the one who guided you into the Heavenly Talisman realm, I naturally hope that you would have some accomplishments. It would be best if you can become a character of great influence in the Heavenly Talisman realm and meet with Master personally. Bai Wuya's voice was sincere. Qin Wendian felt gratitude in his heart, but he didn't say anything more. He turned and headed towards the passageway. Following the passageway, Qin Wendian directly exited the Heavenly Talisman realm and returned to the airspace above the worry-free city. Clouds and mist shrouded the area. Qin Wentian determined his direction and sped away. The gateway to the heavenly talisman realm had long closed, as though it had never opened before. It was extremely mystical. After being away for so long, he wondered how Qin Feng's cultivation was progressing. Upon thinking of Qin Qing and Qin Feng, a faint smile could be seen in Qin Wentian's eyes. This pair of kind-hearted siblings were extremely interesting and gave people a sense of closeness. Other than Bai Wuya and Sword Saintly Mubai, Qin Feng and Qin Qing were the only people he was closer to. Qin Wentian took out a transportation treasure and soared through the air with extreme speed. Not too long later, he arrived in the airspace above the Qin clan. Keeping the treasures, Qin Wentian soared through the air, directly heading towards the courtyard where Qin Feng and Qin Qing were staying. However, when he landed in the courtyard, he frowned. He discovered that Qin Feng and Qin Qing weren't in the courtyard. What's going on? Qin Wentian silently mused. He only saw a few silhouettes walking over, all of them were young men and women. They stared at Qin Wentian with hostility in their eyes. "You are Qin Wentian, right?" one of the maidens calmly asked. "Where are Qin Feng and Qin Qing?" Qin Wentian didn't reply but directly asked. "This place will belong to us in the future. As for where they are, it's none of your business. Just leave, the Qin clan doesn't welcome you." The maiden inclined her head, resembling an arrogant princess. It was as though she was extremely unhappy with Qin Wentian. Hence, the words that came out of her mouth were extremely impolite. The moment Qin Wentian arrived, she already issued the expulsion order, telling Qin Wentian to leave the Qin clan. What happened? Qin Wentian instantly furrowed his brows. Qin Feng and Qin Qing's grandfather, Qin Mu, was the controller of the Qin clan. If nothing major happened, it was impossible for the place where Qin Feng and Qin Qing were staying to be occupied by others. "Didn't I say that the Qin clan doesn't welcome you? Do you want us to tell you to scram before you are willing to leave?" A young man around 18 or 19 years of age was even more impulsive. He impolitely berated Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian didn't look at him. His perception swept out, enveloping the entire Qin clan. Not long after, in a corner of the Qin clan, Qin Wentian's perception discovered Qin Feng. An ice-cold aura gushed forth from Qin Wentian as the look in his eyes turned incomparably cold. Qin Feng was injured. Not only was he injured, he was also imprisoned. At this moment, the helpless him was sitting in a corner of that dirty little house. His entire body was dirty, his hair was messy, and his aura was extremely weak. The masculine young man from before was now like a beggar, in an extremely miserable state. Upon seeing this scene, how could Qin Wentian not be enraged? In addition, Qin Mu was imprisoned as well. His injuries were even more severe. As for Qin Qing, she wasn't in the Qin clan. Qin Wentian turned and directly walked in the direction of Qin Feng. "Stop there!" The young man and woman behind him roared in rage. There were even some who stepped forth, directly launching attacks at Qin Wentian. The palm imprint of a young man directly slammed into Qin Wentian's back. However, runic light flashed from Qin Wentian's body as a terrifying force directly blasted that young man through the air. With a thunderous boom, even the fake mountain in the courtyard was shattered. That young man coughed out blood and fainted. The expressions of the others froze as they stared at the back view of Qin Wentian. The people of the Qin clan sensed the commotion and stepped out. At this moment, Qin Wentian only took a few steps and arrived at the room where Qin Feng was imprisoned. He lifted his palms and blasted out, directly shattering the room into smithereens. "Qin Feng!" Qin Wentian called out. Qin Feng inclined his head, his eyes were bloodshot but there was no spirit in them. His voice was extremely weak as he called out, "Big brother Qin. Eat this pill." Qin Wentian took out a pill and fed it to Qin Feng. Qin Feng's injuries rapidly recovered. He inclined his head and stared at Qin Wentian, "Big brother Qin, don't worry about me. Quickly leave the Qin clan. It's fine." "Qin Feng, where's your sister?" Qin Wentian helped Qin Feng up as he asked. This kind-hearted little fellow still wanted him to leave even now. Speaking of which, Qin Wentian and Qin Feng could be considered to have a master-disciple relationship. Although Qin Wentian didn't officially accept him as a disciple, Qin Wentian knew that Qin Wentian was his disciple. "Sister," Qin Feng murmured. After which, his eyes turned even redder as tears flowed out. He spoke in rage, "Those bastards actually sent my sister to the City Lord Manor and even took the opportunity to let the City Lord Manor's people deal with Grandpa, controlling the Qin clan. They must have planned this from the start." Sent to the City Lord Manor. A cold light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. Back then, although that uncle of his wasn't a good person, this was still a matter of the Qin clan. Also, with Qin Mu present, he didn't have the qualifications to interfere in the matters of the Qin clan. But who would have thought that things would develop to such an ending? Yes, send her to the City Lord Manor as a companion. Qin Feng's eyes were like those of a wild beast, filled with a wild and untamed aura. Just as they were speaking, more and more people from the Qin clan arrived. Among them was Qin Mu's uncle, Qin Shao. These people directly surrounded Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian. Qin Zhao's countenance was cold as he stared at Qin Wentian. "Qin Feng, back then I told you to find a good master and focus on your cultivation. Yet, you didn't listen and ran amok, wasting the cultivation resources of my Qin clan. Now, this person is even more brazen and rude, daring to cause trouble in my Qin clan. Big brother Qin has nothing to do with this matter. Don't drag him into this." Qin Feng straightened his body, standing in front of Qin Wentian. Staring at his skinny frame, Qin Wentian had an indescribable feeling in his heart. It's already too late. Qin Zhao's countenance was ice-cold as killing intent flashed in his eyes. "Interfering in the matters of my Qin clan and injuring people of my Qin clan, your crime is punishable by death. How can you all be like this?" Qin Feng roared in rage, only to see Qin Wentian placing his hand on his shoulder as he spoke to Qin Feng. "Qin Feng, are you willing to take me as your master?" Chapter 758. "Qin Feng, are you willing to take me as your master?" Qin Feng stared into Qin Wentian's eyes as he froze. He didn't understand why Qin Wentian wanted him to take him as his master. Big Bro Qin's talent in cultivation was extremely high, and he had a deep understanding of many aspects of the martial path. But before this, Big Bro Qin had no intentions of taking him as a disciple and only wanted to guide him in cultivation. But now, he actually asked if Qin Wentian was willing to take him as his master. "No, once I take him as my master, Big Bro Qin will never be able to leave." Qin Feng's heart suddenly trembled. After which, he stared at Qin Wentian and shook his head. "Big Bro Qin, the matters here have nothing to do with you. You should leave quickly." "Foolish brat, do you think they will spare me?" Qin Wentian shook his head. In the past, he didn't want to interfere in the matters of Qin Feng's clan. But now, things have already escalated to the extreme. In the past, he didn't accept disciples and only guided them. It wasn't that he didn't have the ability to accept Qin Feng as a disciple. In fact, regardless of his cultivation base or his life experiences, he was already qualified to be Qin Feng's master. But he knew that he wouldn't stay here for long and would leave sooner or later. If he accepted Qin Feng as his disciple, wouldn't that be wasting his time? But now, he understood that this wasn't a big deal. As long as he didn't restrict Qin Feng from taking on others, everything would be fine. In addition, they already had a master-disciple relationship and he truly liked the personality of this little fellow. As for strength and talent, it wasn't something that Qin Wentian considered. He only accepted disciples because of his own heart, not because he wanted to establish a sect. In addition, if he became Qin Feng's master, it would be perfectly justifiable for him to deal with these people. "Qin Feng, are you willing or not?" Qin Wentian stared at Qin Feng as he asked. "Big Bro Qin." Qin Feng's eyes flickered as he knelt on the ground. "Disciple pays his respects to master. Get up." Qin Wentian helped Qin Wentian up. In the surroundings, the spectators were all staring at Qin Wentian with smiles on their faces. How leisurely and carefree. Qin Zhao's ear-piercing voice rang out as he stared at Qin Wentian and Qin Feng. Since you refuse to come to your senses, my Qin clan will send you on your way. Qin Feng, since I'm your master, I can also be considered your sister's master. Since these people treated you and that last Qin Qing like this, I'll use my own methods to deal with them. You shouldn't have any objections, right? Qin Wentian asked Qin Feng. Qin Feng's mouth opened slightly as he stared at Qin Wentian. Deal with them? If you don't say anything, I'll take it that you agree. Qin Wentian looked at Qin Shao, who was in front of him. He took a step forward, and his whole body emitted an ice-cold aura. You're courting death. Qin Zhao's palms trembled as astral light flashed, preparing to unleash an attack. However, the spectators only saw Qin Wentian grabbing out in the air as a terrifying gigantic palm imprint materialized from the void, directly smashing towards Qin Shao. Rumbling sounds of crushing pressure rang out. Qin Zhao's countenance instantly turned as pale as paper when he saw the appearance of the gigantic palm imprint. His attack was completely destroyed, and when the gigantic palm imprint slammed into his body, he had no way to move at all. Stay your hand. The others all shouted when they saw this scene. Qin Wentian's cold eyes swept over as the aura of a second-level ascendant gushed forth without the slightest concealment. An ice-cold tempest engulfed this entire space, and everywhere his gaze passed by, everyone could feel the anger radiating from that handsome young man. At this moment, his eyes gleamed with coldness, containing an unexcelled sharpness. Qin Shao, who was being held down, felt a sense of suffocation. He had no way to imagine that Qin Wentian could actually be so powerful to such an extent. This was simply terrifying. Since you wish to kill me, you better be prepared to die. Qin Wentian icily spoke. After which, the gigantic palm imprint directly smashed downwards. Qin Zhao's body was directly flung through the air, without any signs of life. He was killed by Qin Wentian with a single strike. Qin Feng stood behind Qin Wentian, and when he saw this scene, he was completely dumbfounded. Big brother Wentian, he was actually so powerful. How dare you? The others all erupted forth. Although Qin Wentian was powerful, his cultivation base was only at the second level of celestial phenomenon. They weren't too afraid of him. After all, among them, there were 6 second-level ascendants and above, including 2 fourth-level ascendants. Kill! At this moment, a third-level ascendant took the initiative to launch an attack, blasting towards Qin Wentian. A terrifying golden stone platform appeared in the air, exuding boundless pressure that could suppress everything. Bzz. A bright light flashed. Qin Wentian took out the demon sword strapped on his back. The sword hummed lightly, and in just an instant, a sword intent permeated the entire space. Qin Wentian lifted his hands and slashed out, slashing out a beam of sword light that directly slashed the space into 2. That terrifying golden stone platform that seemed to weigh 1,000,000 jin was directly cleaved into 2. Qin Wentian's body transformed into a beam of light as his constellation manifested. After which, the sword might from the heavens cascaded downwards, enveloping this entire space, containing an incomparably terrifying killing intent. The instant his sword's slaughter constellation appeared, it instantly suppressed the constellations of the Qin clan. It was as though with the presence of the sword, all other types of energy lost their luster. Such a tiny and insignificant clan actually dared to scheme and plot against each other. Since you guys are courting death, I shall grant you your wish. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, a suppressive sword might slammed down from his constellation. The sword chi directly penetrated through the bodies of the Qin clan's experts, piercing through them like 1,000,000 swords. Piercing sounds rang out as a few silhouettes fell from the sky, before being shredded into pieces by the boundless sword chi, dying on the spot. This was the constellation of the sword, the domain of the sword. In just a short instant, only the 2 fourth-level ascendants were still alive. But even for them, they couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. The power of this man's constellation was simply too overwhelming. Qin Wentian stepped out with the demon's sword in his hand. A pair of golden rock wings appeared behind him, incomparably resplendent. Golden light flashed, the golden rock shuttled through the air, slashing apart the void with a single sword strike. This sword strike was akin to the sword of death, suppressing the entire space. A fourth-level ascendant only felt his entire body trembling as his countenance paled. How could a second-level ascendant be so powerful? Puchi. As the sword slashed down, that person died. The last person was so frightened that he actually turned and fled. He who was at the fourth level of celestial phenomenon actually chose to retreat without a fight. You think you can escape? Qin Wentian laughed. Resplendent runic light circulated around his body, flowing towards his palms, terrifying to the extreme. After which, Qin Wentian lifted his palms and roared in rage, akin to the roar of a fiend god. A terrifying star-seizing palm imprint directly soared through the air, slamming into his opponent's body, instantly shattering him into pieces. Not even his bones remained. In just a short instant of combat, all the experts who surrounded Qin Wentian were already dead. The wings on Qin Wentian's back vanished as he returned to the side of Qin Feng. At this moment, Qin Feng was still in a dumbfounded state, staring blankly at the scene before him. Big brother Qin, no, master. Qin Feng's lips trembled. Qin Wentian pulled his arm as they soared up into the air. An instant later, he arrived at the place where Qin Mu was imprisoned. With a single slash of his sword, the incomparably sturdy prison was directly split apart. Qin Mu's aura was extremely weak, he was imprisoned by incomparably sturdy astral shackles. Evidently, Qin Wentian was worried that Qin Mu would escape. Qin Wentian walked up and brandished his demon sword, severing the shackles. After which, he took out a medicinal pill and passed it to Qin Mu for him to consume. After Qin Mu consumed the medicinal pill, the color of his face rapidly recovered. He stared at Qin Wentian and actually wanted to kneel down, but he was held back by Qin Wentian. Back then, I already knew that Sir was an extraordinary character. Hence, I hoped that the two little fellows Qin Feng and Qin Qing would be able to interact with you more often. But this old man didn't expect such an ending. This time around, the lives of my grandfather and grandson are all thanks to you. Although Qin Mu was being supported by Qin Wentian, he still bowed. After this storm, he seemed to have aged by over 10 years. Grandfather, elder sister, she. Qin Feng still had no way to feel happy. Although they were safe now, Qin Qing was already in danger. What happened to Qin Qing exactly? Tell me in detail. Qin Wentian asked. Emicham, Qin Mu nodded. After which, he continued, in the Cloud Prefecture, there was once a grandmaster in weaponsmithing named Jiang Chao. The immortal-ranked weapons he forged were something that even immortal emperors yearned for. After a long period of time, Jiang Chao established the Jiang clan and was extremely powerful. But because Jiang Chao was too arrogant, he offended a great enemy and in the end, the two of them died together. After that, the Jiang clan encountered all sorts of changes and continued to decline. But even so, countless years later, the Jiang clan still exists in the Cloud Prefecture and is the sacred ground for weaponsmithing in the Cloud Prefecture. And now, an expert from the sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Jiang clan, will be coming to the worry-free city. This matter caused a huge commotion, and in order to seize this opportunity to befriend the Jiang clan, the city lord Manor spared no expense. Back then, Xiaoyu once participated in the battle and obtained the Heaven Demon Oracle Bone as a gift. Although the Jiang clan doesn't lack such items, it was more suitable for him to give them a gift. Other than that, the city lord Manor gathered beauties from all over the worry-free city to welcome the Jiang clan as an escort. That bastard Qin Shao actually recommended Qin Qing. He knew that I wouldn't agree, and hence, he had a conflict with the city lord Manor and was injured. The city lord Manor forcefully brought her away. Qin Wentian asked. MHM, in order to curry favor with the Jiang clan, why would the city lord Manor care about a mere Qin clan in the worry-free city? What I'm most worried about is that Qin Qing would be chosen by the Jiang clan. It's definitely not a good thing for an escort to be valued. Qin Mu's eyes were filled with worry. Given Qin Qing's personality, if she was chosen, she would definitely not try to please the Jiang clan. If this was the case, the result would be too worrying. Let me think of a solution for this matter. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. The Jiang clan and the city lord manor were both major powers. But since that last Qin Qing was taken away, he had no choice but to care about it. Qin Wentian wasn't a saint, but he had interacted with Qin Qing for quite some time. He couldn't ignore the life or death of that kind-hearted beautiful young girl. Even if he might encounter danger, he couldn't ignore it. Chapter 759. In the city lord manor of the worry-free city, banners fluttered in the wind as experts stood in formation. On the vast platform in the city lord manor, experts were as common as clouds. All the experts of the city lord manor were gathered here, waiting for the arrival of the Jiang clan. Behind the experts, there were many beautiful women who lined up neatly. These women were all elites of the worry-free city and were summoned here by the city lord manor. Today was the day when the experts of the Jiang clan arrived. One of the young masters of the Jiang clan, Jiang Kuang, led the group with many experts around him. There were even Immortal Foundation experts among them. For a small city like the worry-free city, if the Jiang clan was unhappy, they could destroy it with a wave of their hands. How would the city lord of the worry-free city dare to be disrespectful? Other than the city lord manor, the other immortal-ranked powers of the worry-free city were all here as well. For example, the sect leader and grand elder of the Golden Armor sect, as well as the experts from the Fall Kills sect and the governor's manor. All of them were here to welcome the people of the Jiang clan. Han Luo of the governor's manor stood among the crowd. His gaze landed on the 2 rows of beauties, and when he stared at them, he couldn't help but feel his heart being stirred. His eyes soon locked onto one and he felt a little bewildered. This person was actually the genius beauty of the Golden Armor sect, Zhao Yuyan. Zhao Yuyan actually came here to accompany Qin Wentian. Given her status, she should have done so willingly. Also, her sexy robes accentuated her alluring figure. However, there was only determination in her beautiful black eyes, as though she had an extremely deep obsession in her heart. This woman is really crazy. Is she trying to use her beauty to climb up to the Jiang clan? Han Luo thought in his heart. However, how many of these women had the same thoughts as Zhao Yuyan? They could be considered characters of the worry-free city and were pursued by many. Yet, they were willing to come here to accompany the Jiang clan just for a chance. However, Qin Qing clearly didn't have such thoughts. At this moment, she stood among the crowd, her delicate figure was extremely moving. Her watery eyes flickered with a hint of grievance. Right now, she could only pray that this matter would pass quickly and no one would fancy her. That way, she could leave the Qin clan as soon as possible to see how her grandfather and Qin Feng were doing. A gentle breeze brushed past the city lord's manor. It was completely silent here, not a single sound could be heard. Their gazes were all fixed in the distance, while the gazes of the countless figures below the city lord's manor were also fixed on the figures above the city lord's manor. The strict hierarchy seemed to be invisibly revealed. Finally, under the expectant gazes of many people, a group of figures appeared in the distance. They stepped on flying ships and came over. These flying ships were refined extremely beautifully and were all different from each other. The flying boat in the middle was extremely comfortable. A young man sat on it and gazed into the distance. His speed gradually slowed down. The flying boats on his left and right also slowed down at the same time. They circled around the young man's flying boat and slowly advanced forward. In just a short moment, they descended in the air above the city lord manor. Their gazes swept across the people below. When they saw that there were many beauties waiting for them, they didn't feel strange at all. It was as though it wasn't strange for such a scene to occur. After all, with their status, it was normal for a mere city lord of the worry-free city to do anything to please them. City Lord Bu Yanyu of the worry-free city pays her respects to the people of the Jiang clan. The female city lord Bu Yanyu respectfully spoke. After that, everyone bowed to the experts of the Jiang clan in the air, showing their respect. The young man, Jiang Kuang, had no expression on his face. He calmly glanced at everyone before turning to the beauties behind him. His countenance didn't fluctuate at all. The people below didn't say anything, the entire space was silent. After a few breaths of time, Jiang Kuang slowly spoke, "City Lord Bu has worked hard. This is something that I should do, how would I dare to say that it's been hard on me? The City Lord Manor has already prepared a banquet and welcomes all of you to take your seats." Bu Yanyu was also a rare beauty. Her every frown and every smile exuded charm, appearing polite and courteous without losing her charm. Jiang Kuang nodded lightly. After that, the flying boat descended from the air as the other experts followed suit, landing on the ground of the City Lord's manor. Bu Yanyu and the others immediately went up to welcome them, leaving an empty seat in the middle. "Everyone, please." Bu Yanyu politely spoke. Jiang Kuang and the others slowly walked forward, heading towards the City Lord's manor. Jiang Kuang walked to the center of the 2 rows of beauties. He naturally understood Bu Yanyu's intentions. His eyes swept over the beauties, and many of them had lustrous gazes, as though they were trying to convey their emotions. However, Jiang Kuang didn't care at all, he merely swept his gaze over them. When he saw Zhao Yuyan, Jiang Kuang noticed that her gaze was different from the others. That resolute gaze of hers was staring at him with a hint of fanaticism. Also, her demeanor was extraordinary. "What's your name?" Jiang Kuang's emotionless voice drifted over, entering Zhao Yuyan's ears, causing her body to involuntarily tremble. Her fiery gaze stared at Jiang Kuang as she replied, "Zhao Yuyan, I'm also proficient in forging divine weapons. Right now, I can even forge 5th-rank divine weapons." "Oh." Jiang Kuang's eyes flashed with a strange light. Seems like she was a weaponsmithing genius. No wonder she was so fanatical when she saw him. There were simply too many people in the Cloud Prefecture who were proficient in weaponsmithing, the Jiang clan. "I'll remember it." Jiang Kuang faintly spoke. After that, he continued walking forward. The beauties on both sides were as many as the clouds, causing him to feel a little dazzled. However, one of them was especially eye-catching. This maiden was dressed in simple yet elegant robes and didn't lift her head to stare at him like the others. Instead, her head was lowered, and her hands tugged at the corners of her sleeves, as though she was extremely nervous. "Raise your head." Jiang Kuang faintly spoke. Qin Qing's body trembled as though she could feel many gazes landing on her. Her heart pounded rapidly as she slowly inclined her head, staring at Jiang Kuang with traces of fear in her eyes. Jiang Kuang's eyes flashed with a bright light. After that, he asked, "What's your name?" Qin Qing's body trembled, her hands clutched her sleeves tightly as her lips were tightly shut. "I'm asking you a question." At the side, Xia Yu coldly spoke. A beam of evil light landed on Qin Qing, causing her to tremble as she replied, "My name is Qin Qing." Jiang Kuang replied as he continued walking forward. "Everyone, follow me." Xia Shi turned around and spoke to the crowd. The women all followed the footsteps of the experts of the Jiang clan, heading towards the prepared banquet. Before long, everyone took their seats. The Jiang clan occupied the most distinguished seats. Below them were the representatives of the City Lord Manor and the major powers of the worry-free city. As for the beauties, they stood behind the Jiang clan. Jiang Kuang faintly spoke, "Zhao Yuyan, Qin Qing, the 2 of you come to my side." Zhao Yuyan's beautiful eyes flashed with a startling light. After that, she stepped out and walked towards Jiang Kuang. Her master, the supreme elder of the Golden Armor sect, was also present. When he saw this scene, his countenance turned sharp. He also didn't expect that Zhao Yuyan would come here to be a companion. Seems like this disciple of hers was extremely unhappy with him. Qin Qing's beautiful eyes trembled, but she stood there unmoving. "Why are you still not going over?" Xia Yu turned his head and stared at Qin Qing as he spoke. "I don't wish to go." Qin Qing mustered her courage, her countenance was somewhat pale. As the sound of her voice faded, numerous cold intents landed on her, causing her to feel waves of coldness as her legs trembled. After a moment of silence, Jiang Kuang spoke again, "Come over." At this moment, Qin Qing felt an impulse to cry. Her legs trembled, staring at Jiang Kuang's gaze. She finally lifted her foot and walked towards him. "Michem." At this moment, from the Jiang clan, an expert beside Jiang Kuang abruptly inclined his head as he stared into the distance. Very swiftly, Bu Yanyu, Xia Shi and the other Immortal Foundation experts all turned their gazes over as well. They could sense an immortal aura rapidly gushing over. Instantly, a resplendent halo flashed as a young man in white stepped on a flying shuttle, moving with lightning speed, directly rushing over. Immortal ranked weapon. Jiang Kuang and the rest stared at the flying shuttle, feeling extremely shocked. "Impudent!" Xia Shi roared in rage, his voice causing the entire space to tremble. That young man halted his steps, but he still stood in the air. His gaze swept over the crowd as his eyes gleamed with unexcelled arrogance. "It's you." Xia Yu's countenance was ice cold. Zhao Yuyan's gaze also turned exceptionally cold. This young man who just arrived was actually Qin Wentian. Big brother Qin. Qin Qing's body trembled violently, staring at Qin Wentian in disbelief. At this moment, Qin Wentian had an immortal sword in his hand as he stood on an immortal shuttle. His demonic eyes swept over everyone as he coldly spoke, "Who brought my younger sister here? Are you all courting death?" His eyes were exceptionally sharp, directly landing on Xiaoyu. This scene caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. Even those Immortal Foundation experts had strange expressions on their faces. This young man was too arrogant. He was only at the second level of celestial phenomenon, yet he dared to be so impudent here. This young man's demeanor is extraordinary and he has an immortal ranked weapon in his hands. He should be someone from a major power. Everyone silently speculated. At this moment, Qin Wendian continued sweeping his gaze over, staring at Bu Yanyu and Xia Shi as he spoke in a cold voice, "Are all of you from the City Lord Manor tired of living?" Chapter 760. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the hearts of everyone trembled. The sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Jiang clan, was here and the City Lord Manor had prepared a banquet to welcome them. But now, this young man actually dared to threaten the City Lord Manor? Were they tired of living? Everyone here, including the experts from the Jiang clan, were seriously contemplating Qin Wentian. He wielded an immortal ranked weapon and rode on an immortal shuttle. His eyes were deep and his aura was extraordinary. Those who were threatened, including Bu Yanyu and Xia Shi, didn't reply immediately. They were all observing Qin Wentian. There were simply too many capable people in the immortal realms. Even if your strength is much stronger than your opponent, you still have to see if your opponent has a powerful background or not. If not, a single mistake might result in death or even the destruction of your entire clan. This wasn't nonsense. For example, the City Lord Manor of the Worry-Free City dared to capture people in the city because they were powerful. But even so, they had to see who the target was. They wouldn't do anything to those with a powerful background. Qin Qing was a young lady of the Qin clan. She didn't have a powerful background, which was why they dared to capture her. In the immortal realms, there were some arrogant yet blind people who would bully the weak, resulting in their deaths. Such things were a common occurrence. This included the old ancestor of the Jiang clan, Jiang Chao. How powerful was he when he founded the Jiang clan? Even immortal emperors needed his help, but in the end, didn't Jiang Chao still die on the spot? Although he managed to kill his opponent before his death, saving the Jiang clan from the calamity of annihilation, from then on, the Jiang clan suffered continuous setbacks and fell into a disastrous decline. Zhao Yuyan, Xia Yu, and Han Luo all stared at Qin Wentian as different thoughts appeared in their hearts. They were all speculating what sort of character was this person who seized the Sky Demon Oracle Bone from the Amorsi's residence exactly. As for Qin Qing, her beautiful eyes were staring at Qin Wentian. Her eyes were slightly red as her delicate body trembled slightly. She called out in her heart, "Big brother Qin." Qin Qing naturally didn't expect her big brother Qin to be so powerful. In fact, he even dared to threaten the city lord manor. Bu Yanyu stared at Qin Wentian and asked, "Which force are you from? How dare you be so disrespectful?" After all, Bu Yanyu was a city lord of a region. Being threatened by a weakling, she naturally had the aura of a city lord. However, she didn't dare to directly act against Qin Wentian. Before she understood Qin Wentian's background, she still felt some trepidation. A second-level ascendant possessing 2 immortal-ranked weapons, this by itself already proves some things. If one said that Qin Wentian didn't have an immortal foundation expert behind his back, who would believe it? Qin Wentian glanced at Bu Yanyu, then his gaze landed on Qin Qing. "Qin Qing, who captured you?" Qin Qing's gaze sharpened slightly as he said in a low voice, "Big brother Qin." "Who?" Qin Wentian asked again. Qin Qing's gaze swept through the crowd. After which, her eyes landed on an expert from the city lord manor. She pointed to that person and spoke, "It's him." Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly turned over, staring at the person who injured Qin Mu and brought Qin Qing away. Bang! Astral light erupted forth. In just an instant, a fearsome might erupted forth from Qin Wentian. With a thunderous boom, he directly rushed towards that person. Runic light towered up into the sky from Qin Wentian's palms, terrifying to the extreme. A fearsome gigantic palm imprint erupted forth, blotting out the skies as it instantly appeared before that person. That expert was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon. At the instant Qin Wentian erupted forth, he instantly retreated. The speed of that gigantic palm imprint was simply too fast, containing a fearsome suppressive might. The Fiend God Heavenly Suppression Art, when cultivated to an extremely high level, could even kill immortals and devils. Fiend God Body Refinement Art, one's fleshly body was akin to that of an immortal or a devil. When both of them erupted together, how terrifying would the suppressive might be? A thunderous boom rang out. That person was caught off guard and was directly coughed out fresh blood. His countenance drastically changed, only to see a flying shuttle flying past him. With a piercing sound, fresh blood flowed out as his head was directly separated from his body. He died on the spot, killed by Qin Wentian. This sudden scene caused the eyes of everyone to gleam with sharpness. What an arrogant fellow, he actually dared to kill someone in public in such a setting. The city lord of the worry-free city, Bu Yanyu and her husband, Xia Shi, were both immortal foundation experts. They completely had the ability to stop Qin Wentian, but they didn't. It was as though they wanted to see clearly what sort of divine existence this young man was exactly. From Qin Wentian's body, they could see a terrifying attacking method that was definitely an immortal-ranked innate technique. The runic light circulating around his body caused his body to exude a sharp pressure. Most probably, it's an extremely tyrannical body refinement technique. His palms are also filled with runic light, seemingly indestructible. It's as though his body of flesh and blood has become incomparably mystical, exuding a fearsome divine might. He must have cultivated an extremely powerful cultivation art. Up until now, everything Qin Wentian displayed was extraordinary. Right now, Bu Yanyu was 90% sure that Qin Wentian came from a major power. Not only for Bu Yanyu, the others felt the same way as well. The experts of the Jiang clan from the sacred ground are here. There's actually someone who came to the City Lord Manor to cause trouble. City Lord Bu, you should at least say something. At this moment, a voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect, the Master of Zhao Yuyan. He naturally knew of Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian appeared here, his heart trembled. Back then when he used his immortal sense to protect Zhao Yuyan against Qin Wentian, Bai Wuya directly used his immortal sense to enter his sea of consciousness, easily destroying him. How could he not understand that Qin Wentian might have an extremely terrifying background? At this moment, if the City Lord Manor acted against Qin Wentian, the entire manor would most probably be razed to the ground. The Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect clearly didn't have any good intentions. Mother, Back then it was precisely this man who participated in the Amorsi's residence and obtained the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. The immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect appeared and he recognized this man. After that, a mysterious white-robed young man appeared and with a single word, scram, that old fellow's immortal sense vanished. Although Xia Yu's personality was evil, when he saw how domineering Qin Wendian was, how could he not know that Qin Wendian had sinister intentions? Bu Yanyu stared at Qin Wendian, feeling even more certain of her guess. Seems like the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor sect might know something. In that case, if this was the case, this mysterious young man in front of her might be from a supreme power from the outside world, a power that her city lord manor couldn't afford to offend. Sir, who are you exactly? Why did you come to my city lord manor to cause trouble? Bu Yanyu stared at Qin Wendian as she continued to speak. Qin Wendian still ignored her, he coldly glanced at her before shifting his gaze onto Jiang Kuang. I shouldn't have come here to disturb the Jiang clan. However, my younger sister was forcefully brought here by the city lord manor and I can only come here to bring her back. Can the Jiang clan give me some face? The reason why Qin Wendian came so domineeringly was because he wanted to create a false impression that he had an extremely powerful background. In this immortal realms, it was common for the weak to bully the weak. Only when others felt that you had a powerful background would they not dare to touch you. In addition, he had an immortal ranked weapon and immortal arts on him. His attacks were extremely terrifying, easily creating a false impression. Naturally, he had no choice but to do this. If he wanted to save Qin Qing, he could only do this. There was no other way. Naturally, there's no problem. Jiang Kuang, who had been silent all this while, was observing Qin Wendian. Since Qin Wendian knew their identities, he still dared to be so impudent. He truly wanted to know what sort of character this person was. However, at the very least, you have to tell me who you are first. If not, what qualifications do you have to ask me for Qin Qing? The three words "who are you" from Jiang Kuang's mouth wasn't simply a simple inquiry of Qin Wendian's name. What a joke. Could it be that a second-level ascendant could rely on his tyrannical combat prowess to bring Qin Qing away from him, Jiang Kuang, just by killing a single person? If that was the case, wouldn't the Jiang clan have no weight at all? No matter who Qin Wendian was, even if he had a powerful background, if he wanted to bring Qin Qing away, just based on what Qin Wendian had done, it was far from enough. The atmosphere fell into silence once more. With Jiang Kuang presiding over the situation, those from the city lord manor naturally wouldn't interfere. They originally hoped that this would be the case. In that case, their city lord manor would be able to completely separate themselves and not offend either side. Everything was supported by the Jiang clan. If this arrogant young man didn't have an even stronger background, not only would he have no way to bring Qin Qing away from the eyes of the Jiang clan, it would be a problem even if he himself could leave. Are you unwilling to release Qin Qing? Qin Wendian's countenance turned cold, yet he was silently contemplating in his heart. After all, this Jiang Kuang was someone from the Jiang clan. How could he allow him to bring Qin Qing away so easily? If the city lord manor felt some trepidation towards his domineering performance, the Jiang clan might not feel the same. After all, they could be considered a peak power in the entire Cloud Prefecture. It would be better if Qin Qing wasn't noticed. However, Qin Qing was coincidentally noticed by Jiang Kuang. That would have to depend on whether you have the qualifications to make me release her. A sharp light flashed in Jiang Kuang's eyes. He stared at Qin Wendian. He had just entered the banquet in the city lord manor and there was already someone who came to cause trouble. He really wanted to see how much confidence Qin Wendian had exactly. Chapter 761. Qin Wendian could clearly see the provocation in Jiang Kuang's eyes. To Jiang Kuang, how could he release Qin Wendian so easily? My younger sister was brought here by someone from the city lord manor. She has nothing to do with the Jiang clan. If you are willing to release her, I, Qin, will remember this favor. Qin Wendian stared at Jiang Kuang as he spoke again. However, Jiang Kuang only laughed and shook his head, not releasing. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with coldness, becoming incomparably sharp. A powerful aura gushed forth from him as he stepped forward and coldly spoke, "Since you are asking me if I have the qualifications, I will grant you your wish." A terrifying battle intent gushed forth from him, gushing towards Jiang Kuang. Jiang Kuang's cultivation base was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon, 3 levels higher compared to Qin Wentian. Not only that, as a young master of the Jiang clan, there was no doubt that Jiang Kuang's combat prowess was extremely powerful. That 5th level ascendant from the City Lord Manor couldn't be compared to him. And at this moment, the battle intent gushing forth from Qin Wentian was undoubtedly a form of provocation towards Jiang Kuang. A declaration of war. Under such circumstances, Qin Wentian actually dared to declare war against Jiang Kuang in front of so many people. Big brother Qin. Qin Qing's eyes turned slightly red, feeling moved in her heart. She had heard from Qin Wentian before that Qin Wentian came from a particle world and didn't have any powerful background. Coming here in such a domineering manner was merely a method to confuse his enemies. This was extremely risky, but Qin Wentian actually didn't hesitate to do so for her. In addition, Qin Wentian's strength was truly powerful. Back then that person who injured her grandpa was easily slain by him. Big brother Qin is such a good person and his talent is so high. Please don't let anything happen to him because of me. I'd rather die myself. Qin Qing mused. The eyes of the fragile young girl at this moment gleamed with a resolute light. She had implicated her grandpa and Qin Feng back then. This time around, she must not implicate Qin Wentian as well. A powerful astral wind tore apart the space. Qin Wentian's aura surged as his long black hair danced wildly in the wind. His entire being was incomparably demonic. Resplendent runic light circulated around his body, as though he was clad in a fiend god armor, exuding an unexcelled might. Beside Jiang Kuang, quite a few people stood up. A terrifying immortal might gushed forth, enveloping Qin Wentian. However, at this moment, Jiang Kuang also stood up. He lifted his hand, indicating for the people beside him to stop. As for himself, an incomparably sharp aura gushed forth, his entire person was like a supreme killing weapon, exuding a terrifying destructive might. 2nd level celestial phenomenon. Jiang Kuang coldly laughed. Although Qin Wentian had instantly killed a 5th level ascendant, he still didn't place Qin Wentian in his eyes. His cultivation base at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon wasn't something that the opponent earlier could compare to. Jiang Kuang would never imagine that he would be defeated by a 2nd level ascendant. Absolutely not. Boom. Stomping his foot on the ground, Jiang Kuang stepped out. A fearsome might gushed forth from him, sweeping across the heavens and earth. His entire body circulated with a jet-black glow, terrifying to the extreme. Rumble. Qin Wentian lifted his palms and blasted out towards Jiang Kuang, who was soaring in the air. The star-seizing great palm imprint blotted out the skies, incomparably gigantic, as though a single strike from it could shatter the entire space. That gigantic palm imprint instantly enveloped Jiang Kuang as it smashed downwards. A pitch-black ferocious spear materialized in Jiang Kuang's hands. Destructive chi circulated around the tip of the spear as Jiang Kuang abruptly stabbed out towards the gigantic palm imprint. It was as though an incomparably terrifying amount of destructive energy was gathered at a single point, slamming into the gigantic palm imprint. With a thunderous boom, the gigantic palm imprint was directly shattered into pieces. However, that destructive black light continued to wreak havoc in the air. Evidently, Qin Wentian didn't think that he would be able to defeat Jiang Kuang, who was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon, with a single strike. When he blasted out that attack, his energy was already frenziedly accumulating. The light circulating around his body grew even more resplendent. After absorbing the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, his fleshly body grew even more terrifying. His entire body seemed to be made of copper and steel, with numerous runic inscriptions circulating around it. It was as though his body was a tyrannical divine weapon. The Fiend God body refinement art was used to forge a true Fiend God body. Your attack is too weak. Jiang Kuang stood in the air as he roared at Qin Wentian. As the sound of his voice faded, Qin Wentian's palms blasted out once more. At this instant, an even more resplendent palm imprint covered the entire space. The light circulating around it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Rumbling sounds rang out. Jiang Kuang coldly snorted, the grayish qi around the spear in his hands frenziedly circulated as he blasted out once more, shattering the gigantic palm imprint into pieces. Just a mere second-level ascendant, how can his attack threaten young Master Jiang Kuang? An expert from the Jiang clan stood below, staring at the two of them as he emotionlessly commented. That's right, this man truly doesn't know the immensity of death. The spectators all voiced out their agreement. However, many understood in their hearts that Qin Wentian's strength was already extremely tyrannical. If their positions were switched, Qin Wentian would be at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon while Jiang Kuang was at the 2nd level of celestial phenomenon. Most probably, Qin Wentian would be able to kill Jiang Kuang with a single strike. However, Jiang Kuang clearly had no way to kill Qin Wentian with a single strike. Qin Wentian's countenance was resolute, there were no fluctuations in his expression. His palms blasted out once more, shaking the heavens and earth. Numerous terrifying palm imprints could destroy everything, collapsing the entire space. These palm imprints actually fused together, transforming into an even greater towering palm imprint that could suppress everything, exuding boundless might. Jiang Kuang frowned. That gigantic palm imprint in the air seemed to be able to be split into many different palm imprints. Each palm imprint contained the might of the earlier attack, and now that they were stacked together, it was unknown how many times stronger it was. But even so, would it be useful? This would only cause him to put more effort into this battle. A terrifying black light circulated around Jiang Kuang's body as numerous ferocious spears appeared around him, exuding a terrifying corrosive energy. Go! Jiang Kuang roared. The numerous ferocious spears seemed as though they wanted to penetrate through the void, soaring through the ages. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying spears slammed into the gigantic palm imprint in the air, unceasingly causing cracks to appear on the palm imprint. Finally, with a thunderous boom, the gigantic palm imprint shattered into pieces. A cold smile appeared on Jiang Kuang's face. This should be your limit soon, right? Jiang Kuang coldly spoke. If this was the case, he had absolute confidence that he would be able to kill Qin Wentian right here and now. But at this moment, he saw Qin Wentian's body growing larger. In addition to the fiend god armor circulating around him, Qin Wentian resembled a true fiend god. His eyes gleamed with a cold light, causing people to tremble in fear. Limit? It's still too early for that. Qin Wentian laughed. It was still the same gigantic palm imprint he blasted out earlier. But this time around, the size of the palm imprint was even greater, and the might contained within was even more terrifying. It could truly be said to be world-shaking. Preposterous. Jiang Kuang was somewhat angered. A terrifying black light circulated frenziedly around him as cracking sounds rang out from his body. It was as though he had become even more imposing. Countless strands of long hair coalesced together, transforming into a supreme long hair. He stared at Qin Wentian in the air as he coldly spoke, "You have been attacking me all this while. It's about time for you to have a taste of my attacks. I'm not free." Qin Wentian roared. His palms could pluck the stars and seize the moon as he attacked once more. Instantly, the might of his attacks erupted forth. Such explosive power was sufficient to shock many people. Is that so? Jiang Kuang was finally enraged. At the start, he was only probing out with his attacks, wanting to humiliate Qin Wentian and let him understand that a second-level ascendant wasn't enough. But at this moment, he discovered that Qin Wentian's strength was beyond his expectations. He was 3 levels above Qin Wentian and yet he was still in a defensive state. If this continued on, he would be in an even more passive position. Jiang Kuang had to take the initiative to attack. Boom, boom, boom. Numerous incomparably gigantic palm imprints slammed down from the sky. Jiang Kuang unceasingly defended against them. The tyrannical might of the attacks caused the entire space to tremble as flames gradually appeared in the air. Even with such offensive power, he is still in a passive position. Jiang Kuang felt extremely unhappy in his heart. Young Master Jiang Kuang is actually still playing with him. From my point of view, he should just finish him off directly. The spectators below whispered, yet they didn't know that at this moment, Jiang Kuang was also under immense pressure. At this moment, numerous silhouettes of Qin Wentian appeared in the air. It was as though there were tens of thousands of them attacking at the same time. The might of this attack caused even Jiang Kuang to feel his heart palpitating with trepidation.